Oh, yeah.
Okay. And Shara. Yeah, stop. That would be
Sure. Okay.
Well, yeah, because we always sign last. Commissioners, I always have them sign last.
Yeah, they get it out there, you can change it yourself. Sure.
Not a big deal. Hey, how you doing? Oh, boy.
How are you doing?
Good.
Explanation sheet on my tree.
I think. Sorry. Let me answer real quick.
Because I have to ask,
Mine.
that's, I have to ask anyway about Zach's.
You know, please, what agenda item is the sheriff's correctional officer?
It's at the beginning. It's, yeah, it's like, it's item number 6.
Oh, okay, 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And he's sheriff from deputy or?
Okay.
Oh.
Gonna be addressing that?
I just sent something, you just so.
Okay, so agenda item 6. Oh, I should have just read it off of here.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's on the back.
Okay.
I know, but they want to see it.
You see everyone welcome?
No.
Running a little bit late. I apologize. We had meetings in the back. Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Malloy,
Here.
Mr. Bernard,
Here.
Mr. Hernandez.
Here. Okay, so we're gonna start with agenda item 1, dispense reading in the minutes.
Rick, are we gonna go to this first? Take care of first.
I didn't hear about going through that first.
Yeah, that's what they, instead of meeting with us, we said we'd do this at the beginning.
Okay,
They're not the simple.
okay, well, we can do that. I'm sorry. Yes, Valerie?
Yes, I'm Valerie Coker. I'm with the American Association of University Women, the Trumbull County branch. We're a very old organization. Has to do with women, women's rights, women's gender equality. But we're having, I'm sure you all know about human trafficking event. We're having a panel discussion on May 15th. We've been talking to as many people as we could about it. I'm sure you all know it's a big topic here. I'm inviting all of you to come. I have flyers. I hope you all take one and I hope that you can all come. It's not going to be the last time that our group talks about this or has an event. And so if you can't come this time, I hope you'll be able to come to the next one. So I'm going to pass these out. Does anyone have questions? I hope you can come. I really do.
Questions, commissioners? Anybody in the room?
I'm not an expert, but I talk, so.
Yes, Ms. Coker, if you'd like to pass it.
Yes.
Pass them around.
And thank you for allowing me
Thank
to even be here. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Appreciate your, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on with the agenda item. Agenda item 1, dispense reading of the minutes of workshop dated April 29, 2025, and the regular meeting April 30, 2025. 2, dispense reading of the minutes special meeting dated May 2nd, 2025. 3, approved bills. I'm going to turn this over to Sheriff Taylor. Who can read through some of these. I don't know if somebody, if you would like to, give us some of the ideas of what these are about, or if any of the department heads are here would like to explain.
I'd appreciate that. Shara Taylor, Commissioner's Office. The first couple are mine. We had the fairgrounds building, they ran into a little bit of a problem where they had to dig additional trenches for some water lines. So that was an additional $9,116. And then we had an increase for our SLAP program. And Gary Newbrow can explain more of that. But we needed to do that for the one purchase order that I already had encumbered. So it was just missed. That was my negligence on not getting that in there on the first time around. So it was already there. So that's why I had to increase that. Planning Commission, I guess, Nick, you would know more about that.
Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Planning Commission, first line item, $29.26. That was what was left on a PO from 2024 for our Toshiba copier lease. We accidentally canceled the PO in error. So that money went back into the general fund. We're just requesting that money back so we continue to pay for our copier lease. The $3,000 in additional appropriations is for a contract we entered into to do a comprehensive plan. That's what the township, Mecca Township will be paying us to complete a comprehensive plan for them. They'll reimburse employee costs for traveling places, printing the maps, various other items through the process of doing a comprehensive plan, which Lisa, I think that fund number is supposed to be 200, not 220. I don't know if that's somebody in the auditor's office I need to talk to, or if that's something I need to talk to you about.
It needs changed to 200, you
I
said?
believe that's supposed to be the 200 fund. 220 is not our fund.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Nick. Bob?
Bob Myron, Cemetery Engineers Controller. Our two were both related to on behalf payments for projects. Basically, OWDA pays for the $347,000 one. Our funding agencies pay the contractor. I then just recorded as revenue to the county, and then I expense it as an expense. So it's just a pass through for our fund. So that one went to United Earthworks. The 88,670 is the same thing, except it went to Pollard.
Okay. Auditor's not present.
I can
Sure,
kind of, but yeah, these are just transferring appropriations, like if one fund has more money in it than another fund that we're already expending out of, we just transfer that monies. The auditor, I can't speak for it. Payroll and legal fees, I don't know. Central Court, that is Microsoft Office 365 renewal licenses. So that line item, they were short $1,053.48. Ours is next, is the sheriff's vehicles. We transferred money so that we could pay for their vehicles along with the safety equipment that goes inside and outside those vehicles. So that was the $288,082.88. It looks like the coroner's office, we had, our workers' comp funds were actually, we had over the amount needed for our payments. So we were allowed to reallocate those funds, and that's what that means, that they reallocated the workers' comp, the additional funds that were just left over. So they put them in another line item. It looks like juvenile needed additional funds, so they took it from somewhere, but it doesn't really say where. It's really nice when they put in the description because it tells you exactly why they took it.
Right.
And Eastern Court, we had another Microsoft Office 365. Planning, I'm not sure, but they reallocated your workers' comp, but I don't know what that P2 A1 ECC.
I don't know.
The 23,000.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's.
Yeah, the Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Planning Commission, 225 is our community development block grant. That 23,000 came out of administrative dollars. So that was moved around to pay for things like the accountant that we're required to have make sure that the funds are balanced, pay for advertising for our public hearings, pay for mileage for our staff to attend the public hearings, and to a couple other various things, including fair housing. So we just moved $23,000 of the administrative funds in the grant to pay for administrative services in the appropriate line item.
The other one here, Nick,
10334, that was out of the general fund. That was the workers' comp additional funds that we had in there. Again, we moved those around into the general fund to various items such as trainings, travel, mileage, copier lease, and the maintenance agreement for Crosby Book to make sure that we have paper and ink and stuff like that. So that's moved out of just for administrative fees to operate the office.
When we do this, when we do the transfer of appropriations, it's to make sure that we stay on budget in every line item. That's what that's for, so we're not in the red.
A lot of times those get lumped into like the administrative dollars. They're in one line item. They have to be paid for out of specific object code. So software is an object code. Ink is a different object code. Mileage is a different object code. So we're basically moving those funds from admin dollars to the specific object codes that we need them in so that we can pay for our operations.
Commissioners, Alex Stephen Jonesy Bush, Human Resources Department. It is not atypical that at this time of the year, every year, you will see that workers' comp monies are freed up. Obviously, we budget for it. We budget for claims to happen. We budget for our claims in the Human Resources Department. We work in coordination with the auditor's office. It is a good thing if we have monies left available for our department to transfer after the fact. That means that there was the premium we didn't get any increase, or we got budgeted more, but it's always good for us to budget more for workers' comp. We don't know when somebody's going to get hurt. So what you're seeing is some of those monies being floated back to the departments that we had budgeted for upfront, but that were not needed. So that's why you're gonna see a lot of that. Here, probably within the next couple of months, departments will choose to transfer money that they had in that workers' comp line to another line to, make sure that they can fund their administrative services.
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
Sheriff, we had a small 1658.
Oh, sanitary, it looks like they were short in for your.
Okay.
My question on the auditor, the legal fee and the payroll adjustment, that within their own? Where's that money going?
Well-
From and going to?
Payroll is 001 and
That's
007 is her REA, I believe.
So she's doing that within her own?
Well, the one is general fund. The 001 is general fund, the 57,000.
So she wants 57 from our general fund into her payroll account?
I don't know if she must be moving it around. We're not sure where.
Well, it was a transfer of appropriation, so the money was already budgeted
Yeah.
for to answer that
Somewhere.
question.
So
So it was money that was already awarded to the auditor's office that would have been maybe in another line level that she's asking to be transferred, yeah,
do you know what line level she wants it from?
I do not, sorry.
I'd like to know before I transfer that out.
And then I do believe the 007, and please, if I'm misspeaking, I believe the 007 is their dedicated REA funds, so real estate funds.
Which it's not, it's $1,500. So that would be where that's, it would make sense if it's out of that fund.
It's already been appropriated, or it's already been. She has it in her.
It was
It's not
somewhere
additional
else
money.
essentially, right, like, so
Yeah.
yes, it was art, so when we.
It's
when-
budgeted
Yeah,
already.
my point is, this probably won't be the last legal fees we're gonna have to transfer out.
Thank you.
Christie, can you explain this?
Yes.
Please give us your name.
I'm sorry, I'm a little winded. Stairs. Stairs.
Run by the window.
Okay, so when we were setting the
Name
budget,
first.
I'm sorry, Christy Cesaric, auditor's office. When we were setting the budget in March, we were trying to help out the general fund, so we tried to budget half of Auditor Yoder out of the REA fund to help out. But we recently found out that we can't do that. So we're just trying to, yeah, I'm sorry, I just don't want to make you wait.
Just slow.
So we're just trying to adjust that with that to put her back into the general fund where she's.
Commissioner, do you have any additional questions?
It's not an additional appropriation, we're just transferring between employee accounts, whether it's the elected official account versus our general office account.
Okay,
If I do,
Thank
I'll
you.
let you know.
thank you. Did you take the elevator?
Sharon.
I'm not in good shape.
Well, those stairs are, they're fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Sheriff, did you have something else while you were here?
There's a couple things, they can wait a minute. It's just some
Oh, you're
other
right.
things.
Okay,
It's, okay.
okay.
I'm
Well,
gonna make it work.
all right. So we're gonna move on to agenda item number 6.
Well, Christie, is there anything else auditor wise? If she was up the back up the steps again.
I don't see anything that I draw my attention of. No. I don't see anything else from anyone. Okay, we're gonna move on to 6. We have 4 resolutions, or 3? 3 resolutions this week. Number 6, to adopt a resolution proclaim the week of May 4th through May 10th as Correctional Officers Week in Trumbull County, Ohio, in conjunction with National Correctional Officers Week. So I guess we can have, yeah, Eric.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Eric Benz, been with the Sheriff's Office about 10 years. We're just looking to recognize the hard work that all men inside the jail do. It's unseen. It's important work for communities to keep everybody safe, watching individuals and caring for them while they're in custody. So in line with National Correctional Officer Week, May 4th, yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
That's it. Again, that's a thankless job like 911. Recognized earlier, to recognize the corrections officers. It's takes a special person to work in that environment.
I agree. Okay, resolution item number 7, adopt a resolution to proclaim the month of May 2025 as Foster Care Month in conjunction with the National Foster Care Month. Is there anybody here with that, for that? No. Okay. 8, adopt a resolution proclaim week of May 4, 2025 through May 10, 2025 as Travel and Tourism Week. Beth is here. And I don't know, you want to speak on that, Beth? Anything to say or?
I have an annual report that I can hand out today, so it doesn't slow down the meeting tomorrow. We also have a 45-second, not minute, second commercial that we're streaming right now in our demographic areas, and I was thinking about showing that, but I really don't want to slow down the meeting at all, so that's your decision.
Okay, no, thank you. We appreciate Beth Carmichael. Thank you, Beth.
So would you like us to do that or not?
We'll wait till the end of the meeting then, so we don't slow.
Tomorrow?
Down. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, is that all right with you?
Yeah, I mean, we could do it when we recognize tomorrow. Now you do your presentation.
Okay.
Is that okay?
yeah,
Okay.
So you want her to do it right after you present her with her
Yes.
resolution? Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to comment. You could come up to the podium. Sure. Do you want to take number 9?
Yeah, number 9, this is just, it's every year, it's annual. We have to register our underground storage tanks. That's for fuel, whether it be diesel, whatever case may be. We have 7 tanks that we have to register, and we are self-insured. So it costs us less money. And that's just in case there is an overflow, spill, whatever. So we do have to do this every single year. So it's just our annual registration.
Commissioners, just for a little historical knowledge, these underground storage tanks are Alex Stephen Jency Bush Human Resources Department. These underground storage tanks are insured through Corsa, and then also they're inspected every single year through our own vehicle maintenance department. We have somebody in there who actually is able to help inspect. He was able to obtain the licensure to help inspect these underground storage tanks. So I do want to give a little shout out there because that was a cost savings to the county, where previously we were having to go out to have these storage tanks inspected, but we are now able to utilize somebody within our own department. So that's a big deal.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 10, authorize Ohio Department of Youth Services, the juvenile court grant agreement and funding application. The application request is for a biennial period beginning July 1, 2025, ending June 30, 2027. And it's the estimated allocation for fiscal year 2026 is at $1,165,464.29. Grant will provide for early intervention, treatment, and rehabilitative programs for delinquent and at-risk youth. Do we have anybody here from juvenile?
Right here, Stacy Cisco from Juvenile
Yes,
Court.
Stacy. Could you?
Yes, this is just our yearly grant allocation from the state, provides drug services to programming and staff that services.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. 11, we have Mr. Hannaford here. Yes, sir.
Tim Hanford, Director of IT. I have actually an additional item on to that. This item here is for a server for family court. They have a server there that is well past its age limit. This is replacing that. It's also going to provide some additional storage to provide support for the updated cameras. When that original device was purchased, cameras were at a very much lower resolution than they are now. This server will help us move forward into the future. So.
We've been in some discussion with family court over that.
That's
months
what
ago,
this is,
so.
yes.
Okay.
And Sharon was great getting me the phone number for all of it, for what was needed. If it would be okay, I'd like to just discuss one more item.
Sure.
CSEA and Jobs and Family Building. This revolves around security. I have two quotes just for the commissioners to look at. Actually, I think I gave two
Thank
there. These are two quotes. The top quote is just for children's services. The second quote in there is for Jobs and Family. This is to redo all of their security door fobs and keys and all that. Right now, they're on an old system that basically they're going on eBay to find parts, used parts. So we want to get them all upgraded. This will help them out tremendously. So.
Yeah, and commissioners, we've been discussing this about security issues within our buildings. I mean, I definitely think that you can't have enough security in these buildings. Do you have any questions, commissioners, on these security items?
We had talked about in cooperation with the sheriff's department upgrades, they have the evidence room and security at $250,000 being appropriated toward that. And I would say that this fits in with that we agreed upon.
Yes.
Also, Jim, while you're here, have you heard from the sheriff's department at all in regards to the side door, Harmon Street?
No, I have not.
All right, we had a meeting with the sheriff a couple weeks ago
Okay.
about allowing that door as an employee entrance and exit.
Yes.
And we would need a key fob for employees, to pretty
Okay.
much make sure every employee in the building would have a key fob for that.
Yes.
Can you get with Mr. Kelch on that or then the sheriff and see
Yes.
about the logistics of that?
Yeah.
There will be a meeting set up where we're working in the process of collaborating and getting IT and the proper parties to the tables. That way we can get this rolling.
Perfect.
Because it does encompass not only just obviously the sheriff's department, but the auditor's department as well as HR. We need processes, policies, procedures. It's a multi-faceted kind of thing that we're working on here. And it's not little. I mean, by any means, there's at any point hundreds of employees in this building. So we need to make sure that we do it correctly. We need to make sure we roll out process. We need to make sure we have a fob process. We need to make sure we have replacement processes. There's a lot of things that need to go into this. So I actually just, before I came over here this morning, Daryl and I spoke with the sheriff's office, and we will be putting together a larger meeting for all of us to make sure we do this properly.
Is there a way, instead of the fob itself, is there a fob that can be attached to employee ID or is there an RFID?
And
Something in the.
it's either the key fobs, the gray key fobs that we all have, or it is there are cards that can be issued. JFS, I believe, uses the cards currently.
There's
So,
like a
and
microchip in the card.
they're getting all new cards to support the new door system if we go through with this. And everybody else, we just issue the key fob.
And that is at an additional expense. So for example,
Correct.
our county badges, are one thing, but for people who work for Job and Family Services or CSEA, their badges are additional $10. That's why we need processes in place. If an employee loses that badge, well, it's actually their ID card as well as the chipped badge within which gives them access. At JFS, they have a process in place that the employee has to pay an additional $10 if they lose it. So we need to have those sorts of processes in place because otherwise we could be incurring, think about one employee loses the badge 10 times in a year, that's $100 right there. I know it sounds little, but it's money. So
We've always, even our ID badges, it's $5 if you lose it. It is $5.
it's additional though for the extras, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
A little bit
yeah,
more
yeah,
because
yeah.
of the extra
No,
technology. that
yeah,
goes into
because of the
chip.
chip.
Yeah.
I noticed also like my employee ID is expired and it has Paul Monroe Sheriff on it. Is that something all employees did the same thing, so they all need to get new IDs?
I
now?
made sure that all county employees, I apologize, so we did send out a spreadsheet, was sent out to every single department. Everybody here, I'm pretty sure if you check your badges, they're correct. Thank you all for nodding your head. I appreciate that you listened to the email. Go Team Trumbull County, because our elected officials, if I missed you, I apologize, and I will make sure, okay. I
They
will make
started after
sure,
the first, so yeah.
I will make
So
sure.
you
that-
just missed me, basically.
I'm sorry.
The only one that we're coming.
I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure the email went out to see everyone, but that's okay. I'll make sure that we get that next.
So is any of this reimbursable from Job and Family Services?
I don't think so, because it's your county building.
We actually collect, we
So we can
collect.
just
You collect rent.
They
We
can
can
collect
just
rent.
up your rent.
That's what they always wanna do.
We're getting quite a bit of money from you.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little more
Yeah,
about
utilities,
that.
you pay everything.
One last thing, I've been in contact with AT&T already, T-Mobile, this has to do with cell service at the fairgrounds. Who has replaced Bill Hart? Bill was instrumental in getting everything set up out there.
Daryl.
Daryl, okay, I'll reach out to him because I've got T-Mobile on the hook right now. Verizon last year worked directly with the fairgrounds, so we gotta figure out what the heck they're doing. But we'll get everything all set up.
Are you talking about the portable tower or
Yes, yeah,
what did that cost last year, you know?
zero. It didn't cost the county anything. We had three carriers came in and they provided the service for us.
Outstanding.
Yeah. I think we ended up having to run the electric, but that's
Sorry.
fine.
Speaking of the devil right there.
Yes,
Daryl is here, so.
yes, I'll talk with him.
Thank you.
So, okay, all right, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you,
just Tim, one more time while you're still here, and we're talking about towers.
Yes,
Who would be our link then? Again, we've talked about the tower, putting a tower up at the fairgrounds, a permanent tower. And then 911 being able to utilize that if we
Correct.
make the move to Cortland. Would that be something that you would chair and be in charge of, or is that something you and Daryl or?
well, probably myself and Daryl would have to go over it. I know myself and Bill had looked at it originally.
Okay, so
I
you
know
were in the
that
conference with Bill?
there's a pretty hefty price tag and a maintenance fee on top of that. So that's our biggest concern, but we can start looking at that again.
Good. If you could, that would be great because that's a crucial piece of the puzzle of
Yes,
getting 911
Oh, yeah.
is that tower.
definitely, yeah.
I
Okay.
have one more
Thanks.
question.
Yes, sir.
All the events that's going on at the fairgrounds,
Mhm.
can we kind of ask them to keep the tires up? The towers
We
up a
had
little
looked at
longer?
that last year. Keep in mind, they're giving us for $0 right now for that week. So they really weren't supportive, but they said, look, if you guys build a tower, we'll put antennas on it, definitely. But it's a matter of us just getting a tower put in there. And we were looking at, just to give ballpark figures, we were looking at about $1.5 million, 2 million just for that tower.
I understand it, but I'm just asking that instead of 1 month, maybe they could keep it there for 2 or 3 months for the summer.
Well, they move in basically big generator truck type things. Sorry, it wasn't just plopping a tower up, it was manned. I mean, they had to come out there and not so much staff it, but they were operating on generators, things like that.
That's true.
Yeah. It's a big deal for them to do that. And we're very much appreciative of it
When they
because
go on the
last year
tire,
was
then
perfect.
they'll pay us for going on the tire?
They'll pay us a lease fee, whatever that is, whatever we work out with them. Yeah.
Right now, we actually get funding from Vertical, it's called Vertical Bridge. I think it's the iHeart Radio out in Brookfield. We get in about $13.50 a month from that, on that tower. Just from that one
1,300
Mhm.
from one person.
person.
Well, if we could negotiate, I mean, that would help us
Right.
for the cost, so we know.
Yes, definitely.
We could potentially get reimbursed for it.
One other thing that while we're on security, did we ever find out anything about the recorder or the recorder's building there? Commissioner, you remember down off the street down there, these
So
ladies
we-
are in there.
We had looked at that. We got a quote for it. The issue is if we're gonna redo those doors out front, and this is all part of a bigger project. If we go ahead and just put the security in, we're gonna have to rip it all back out and redo it. So that's a big concern.
The building itself is, Alex Stephen Bush, the doors need completely, I mean, it would need to be, there's actual maintenance, significant maintenance work that
Correct.
needs to be done. I guess what I think I'm hearing Tim say, and I don't disagree, is it's not just putting a fob on the door. It doesn't work like that. They would have to redo the entire entryway of that building, and the commissioners really truly need to make a decision. Is that a building you want to put millions of dollars in to redo, or what do you want to do here? Because again, otherwise you're kind of just putting a Band-Aid on something. But that's up to the board.
Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Planning Commission. We actually share the building with archives departments. So this would be the same building that you just put a new roof, new ceiling, and new carpet into. And I believe Director Green has already gone out and gotten quotes for the upgrades to the doors to make them compatible with this equipment and also ADA compliant. Those were quotes that have already been reached out. I don't remember what those quotes are off the top of my head, but I believe it was somewhere in 20,000 to 30,000. So that is something that has been looked at and ongoing. And I can look into see whether that is going to be taken care of with some of the ARPA allocation. I have to look into it a little bit more to see if that's something that's going to already be taken care of. That was an additional cost.
She does have some money left on the MOU.
Yes, yeah, but I know that some of that is already allocated to other things. So there was a
I'm
whole
not
list
aware
of
of that.
of things that need to be accomplished. So I'll have to look into it and see what all this being taken care of with that.
And then Nick, just so that way we're on the same page collectively, this is the same building where the elevator is not really functional right now.
The
either,
elevator is
correct?
completely unfunctional
Right,
right
'cause I
now.
just had to walk
Um,
out. So I know.
We had, we did have an out of order sign on it. We were told the elevator company come looked at it, cleared it. They, within 2 days later, archives who was using it, they have to bring a lot of those boxes between the first floor, the second floor and the basement. They were pushing a dolly in there and the door slammed on the dolly and started moving up with the dolly trapped in the door. So we had to turn it off, and get the dolly out, force the dolly out, put the out of order back, sign back on it. There is a call tag in. I believe Daryl has already reached back out to the elevator company. But yes, that elevator is in disrepair, significant disrepair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hannaford.
Sir.
We'll move on to agenda item 12.
Commissioner, one more thing. Tim, can you check? I hate to bring someone else with anything more on you, but I'm getting messages from CCAO. The commissioners, were supposed to receive a email from the White House on Thursday.
Okay.
And they just double checked and said they did send it. They sent it to Commissioner Hernandez's email, and we did not get it. They asked us to check the spam.
Okay.
Can you check in the system there to see if we missed something there, if we can find it?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Okay. 12, to approve the state fiscal years 2026 and 2027 biennial sub-grant agreement by and between the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, the Ohio Department of Medicaid, and Ohio Department of Children and Youth, and the Trumbull County Board of Commissioners, and the Trumbull County Children's Services Board. I don't know, John.
That's not mine, that's
No.
Children's Services.
Okay. I guess I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Gargano, 13 through 16.
John Gargano, Trumbull County Department of Job and Family Services. The first one is to approve the agreement between JFS and the institutions that were submitted on the list. These agreements create 25 training opportunities and 7 job opportunities at a total cost not to exceed $235,543.29. And that's fully funded through the WIOA allocations. No general funds are requested. The next item I have is to approve the sub-grant agreement between JFS as the fiscal agent for the Area 18 Workforce Development Board and Trumbull Metropolitan Housing Authority. This is an amount not to exceed $378,581. And this is for services for 30 eligible at-risk youth between ages of 16 and 24 years of age. And it's the title of the Youth Bill of Trumbull County. Again,
Those are funds through the VIOA funds and no general funds are requested. The next item is to approve the sub-grant agreement between Trumbull County JFS acting as the fiscal agent for Area 18 Workforce Development Board of Trumbull County. And this is in the amount not to exceed $393,986.77. And that is for youth training services for 105 eligible at-risk youth between the ages of 16 and 24. And that is again with the all funds and no general funds are requested. And then finally, there is a sub-grant agreement between Trumbull County JFS and Trumbull County Jobs for Ohio graduates. And this is an amount not to exceed $400,000. Those are services they provide education, training, and related activities to provide required training elements for the temporary assistance families comprehensive case management employment program. And these funds are through TANF funds and no general funds are requested.
Thank you. Any questions on job family service? So we'll move on to the Trumbull County Engineer, Gary.
Yeah, Commissioner Raymond. Thank you. Yeah, Gary Schaefer, Trumbull County Engineer's Office. Number 17 is concur with our office grant as right-of-way permits as listed for Cannon Communications. That's on behalf of Charter Communications installing fiber throughout Gustavus Township. Number 18 is concur with our office for the bridge closings as listed. One's East Park and Niles, and the other one is North Levitt Road there in Warren Township for bridge inspection.
Okay, so short list.
Come back next week as well.
Commissioners, I don't know that I explained, I had a phone call by a concerned resident in Newton Falls concerning, and I know that this isn't gonna happen, in Newton Falls, the bridge, dinner on the bridge.
Yeah,
I think that that's fell through.
I was gonna address that at the end, but yeah, we could.
The concern was, and the engineer would know better than I would know about this. The weight handling of the bridge, having tables and all these, people that would be sitting on the bridge to have a dinner. Is there any?
I don't think there was a
constraints with weight?
concern. No, I even ran that by our bridge engineers. Now, I
Okay.
don't have an actual load rating for that bridge. 3 tons is 3 tons, but I do have an estimate.
Right.
80% funding from the feds to do a load analysis of that bridge, but how do you really load rate for tables? And I could do vehicles and any of the illegal axle configurations we can model for tables. People weigh different amounts. If the table's a foot off, it changes everything, especially on a historic structure like that. It never was a concern raised. I'd imagine no matter how many people you put on that bridge, you're not gonna exceed what it's posted.
That was the question, yeah, right. So that was their
It was never
concern.
brought to my attention either.
Yeah, it was, we got an email through the commissioner, or to me personally concerning. And I called the individual and she mentioned to me that there was a concern about weight limit on the bridge. So,
The last I heard, our office had been in talks with her. We reached out there a couple weeks ago because we were approaching that date. Want to know whether to get that release on the agenda or not. She said she just hadn't sold enough tickets.
right. Okay. So that's kind of on hold right now.
Yeah, and I got another event I'll bring up after we discuss that. Something very similar.
Okay,
So that's been canceled?
That was
Yeah.
canceled, yeah.
yes. Thank you, Gary. Let's see where we at. Lost my train of thought. Nick?
Number 19, Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Planning Commission, dedicate $100,000 towards the fiscal year 26 appropriation request for community project funding. The amount of $500,000 from Mosquito Lake Interceptor preliminary engineering study appropriation request, Congressman Joyce's office, and the fund number listed. And to ratify the signature of commissioners on said dedication letter. So this was part of one of the commissioner's projects you submitted for congressionally directed spending through Commissioner Joyce's office, or Congressman Joyce's office, sorry, not Commissioner, Congressman Joyce's office. We had to put up matching funds for the preliminary engineering study. This is the amount of funds and fund number that you have dedicated for it, and ratifying your signatures to submit that request to Congressman Joyce.
Should that letter go to Senator Marino also?
Did
We-
you
we
send the
kinda-
same request to Senator
Well, we
Marino?
kind of discussed it.
Yeah.
But-
Oh, we did it, we put it in his portal
Right.
also, so.
Yes, it should go to Senator Moreno as well. Okay,
And what about Senator Houston?
His portal was closed, by the time he opened it, it was only open for 2 days and then closed, so. He knows of the request, but we
You
can't.
can still send him a letter though, right? Like, make him aware of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you rewrite that for Lisa, with adding,
I, depending on,
I have the letter.
is it ready to, you can edit it to make,
Yeah, I can.
yes,
I can put them all there. Let them all know.
yeah, we can do that. We'll edit it and send it to Senator Moreno and if you'd like, send it to Senator Houston as well, just to, get his support.
if you need our signatures, we need to do that like immediately.
Yeah. Ratify signature of Board of Trumbull County Commissioners on said dedication letter. Well, we can add wording to, let me see. Dedicate $100,000. Request for Congressman versus us. And so we can,
You have the letter ready tomorrow, we can sign it.
I believe we already,
I can just edit it really fast and go
Yeah.
back to the office. Send it over to Chrissy.
I don't think we need to change the wording because it says ratify signatures of the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners. So that's specifically to dedicate that $100,000 to this project. We'll just edit the letter and send it to all three of the congressional representatives. And then the wording can change, stay the same. We'll just collect your signatures tomorrow after you vote.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, well, Mr. Solomon, we'll move on to you.
Thank you. Number 20 is going to pass out. This is to amend Commissioner's regular meeting, agenda item number 18, dated March 12th, 2025. Reading to approve the actual certification with the request proposal 2024 funds for purchase transportation. So basically, back in March, we had all this contractors recertified their vehicles that were over 10 years old. This is Garwin's, which was not done yet. It has been completed. There were 4 of them, 2015, 2017, 2018. And on the back are their actual. Yeah.
So these were all rectified, anything that was needed?
Right, yeah, in fact, it even says on their parts ordered and whatever. So I was looking through them.
So it's every 10 years.
Oh, no,
If it's 10 years or
if
older.
it's 10 years or older, they have to
10
be
years.
certified.
And you went to 18 because it's a 3-year contract?
Yes. Yeah, I went for the entire contract, correct.
Commissioners, you all good?
Mike, you still continue to inspect these things randomly throughout
Oh,
the
yeah.
year? There
Yeah,
are
in fact,
complaints?
I go out and look at them and, like, for example, just FYI, I went out to Sunset Transportation, about 3 weeks ago. Check it, so, yeah. I talked to them and so, yeah.
Just to be clear for everyone who
Oh.
didn't know about it, these vehicle inspections are required by the county for these vehicles that are 10 years or older for all our transportation companies. Make sure that they're up to par on brakes, tires, that they're, that they're ready for road use and carrying our residents.
Yeah, the residents, they're safe. Safe and reliable. So 21, just receive a place on file, the Trumbull County Transit quarterly operating and financial data report for Trumbull County Transit and the Western Reserve Transit operating financial. So I've got 2 reports for you here. So first is the Trumbull County one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Okay, so I'm not gonna, I mean, these are a lot of numbers here and stuff, so basically, the first quarter of this year, we've done 10,228 trips. And that's an increase of 451 trips from last year, which we did 9,777. So projected for this year would be up to 40,912, and actual, we did 40,172, so we're definitely, as of right now, we're ahead of pace of last year, so again, going back to what I've said in the past, every year for the past 3 years, going on our fourth year, we've done steadily increases. I think we started around 36,000 originally, so we're up
Like,
to
what do you mean by one-way trips?
one-way trip means we pick the client up, you go to the doctor, that's one way, the other way.
Bring them home from the doctor is another one-way, so if it's a round trip, split it in half.
So roughly, you take 10,000, 5,000 round trips, give or take. Because some people might have only gone one. But we have one client that only does go one way. A family member picks them up. And then, I did split these numbers up by age group, by the group, so under 65, we did 487 trips. 65 and over, 67, 14. So there was a total of 7,201 senior trips. The disabled 60 and under, which is a little misleading because they could actually be over 60. But I'm trying to move people that are over 60 to 64 to the seniors. But that was 2,125 trips. The DD board was 902, so the total trips. A total disabled trips of 3,027. And then, so that's really, if you have any other questions with the numbers, that's really it with the numbers. And then I'm gonna pass something out to you, another thing. I apologize, this is not. Two pieces, yeah, sorry, they're not big. But what I just passed out was, this is regarding the contracts that we've been in, the RFP, ODOT. This is the, email from the ODOT staff saying it has been complete. So the first page is saying it's been complete, the second page shows that I completed everything, the dates, I've dated it. The reason there's two dates at the bottom. The first date, which is 4/14, is when I submitted to them. That's when I submitted the list, my final list to them. And then on 4/25, 4/24 is when the email came back from him. That's why I got two dates. But if you notice, this process took almost a year. I started this process back in May of last year. So,
Question on RTA, WRTA,
Yeah.
they're ending when?
okay, I'm just going to do
Oh, you're
that.
going into that? Okay.
Yeah. That's next. Here's the WRTA. Oh, sorry. But also, just per ODOT regulations, I had to submit what they call a semi-annual DD report. This is actually an FDA requirement. It's an ODOT requirement, which means you have to put in there if you have any DD contracts, and if so, have you spent any federal money on it? I have to do this twice a year. So I submitted this, let's do April 30th, I submitted this in the time. The other thing I just want to go over quickly with you, because Diane's not here, is on the financial. With, what this has cost so far. So the first quarter, total dollar amount was $349,000. That was split between a grant, 5310 grant of 262,862, and then local was 86,143. So far through the first quarter is 350,000. So we're looking at 1.1 for $1.5 million for this year.
And just to clarify, that's for both senior 64 and under, 65 and over, as well as disabled.
Please give me.
Alex, Stephen, Josie, Bush, and Resources Department. Sorry, I thought we only had to do it once and then we were good.
Oh, what's that?
Thought we only had to do it once every single time.
But the commissioner, the common person or whatever, we're okay with individuals.
This year,
Every time.
Alex, Stephen, Josie, Bush, and Resources Department.
I hate
No, you
saying
don't,
it.
only once.
Oh, only one?
Only
What's the role?
It's
Yeah.
once.
It's all right.
The table, yeah.
Okay.
You're on.
That 350,000 is for both the senior and disabled category,
350,000 is the total expense.
for everything.
Right.
Thank you.
That includes our local share of 50% of this total of everything. And on Diane's spreadsheet, which I don't have, she actually has.
And the DD as well, right?
So
So all.
orders,
okay,
yeah, because Diane has this huge spreadsheet that normally she would bring in, but it actually has it broken down by each.
No problem. I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
the board's aware of the buckets underneath that 300,000. Because it
Okay.
affects multiple.
Right. Okay, so here's gonna be our two. All right. So this figure on table report's a little different. What I've done is I'm doing it from the beginning, when we started the service to March. So it's basically for a full year. And again, the service started in the middle of March and it's gone through March 30th. So up until this point, the 73 West did 17,911 trips, 74 Elm did 13,623 trips. So total trips for the route for 1 year has been 31,534. Now the Warren Express, that's only for the
Excuse me,
quarter.
Mike, is this single one way, like?
Single one ways.
Single one way.
So same thing, if you're talking round trip, you're talking 15,000. The Warren Express, which we don't have to pay for, doesn't cost us any. So far, the first quarter is up 45,000, and again, that's the third best. WRTA, and that's going to continue running, even though the other two are done. So the financials for this, again, is from March, and I've got, I paid invoices through February this year. So total cost so far has been 449,925. That is split between the grant, that's 50% grant, so the grant's 224,925.50. And the local is split between the commissioners as well as City of Warren, so that split is 112,41, 112,105. So that's how the split is. So again, Route 73 and 74 will end as of May 30th. I have been receiving several calls. So far, there's only been one I have not been able to move over to Trumbull County. So I haven't been able to move all the calls over, and I try to explain to them we've lost funding, because that's what they always ask, why? It's WRT not running anymore, so we've lost the money. So it's saying that what that's gonna do though to the Trumbull County Transit is gonna increase ridership, because these clients that were running on WRTA will be running now on Trumbull County Transit.
If they're over 60.
60 or to say.
Disabled.
So how many clients would you say that you've transferred over?
Oh, heck, those are just like
12. Or 6.
six, about 6 at least, that I know of.
So those routes are only averaging 41 round trips a day, 41 people round trip in a day. For a 50 some foot bus.
So as of May 30th, that was your question, that was your question. As of May
Put 7 million on the ballot to keep it on. It's like-
That's-
Mike, you feel comfortable with, RTA gone the end of May, covering these trips in?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I felt good. I mean, we may be running a little tight on money. And we'll find that out as time goes on, but I mean, the one thing with Diane, we're always checking once every month to see where you're at. She'll let me know when you're running real tight or you're doing good or whatever, so we know month by month, so that last quarter, like, maybe we gotta do a little, I'm not saying we left, I have no idea. But, the other part of this would be, which is still undetermined, we have not heard from ODOT, find out how much funding we're gonna get from the 5310. So I'm hoping to hear within the next couple of weeks for that.
Plus, we just passed the replacement levy. They're getting more funds in the senior services than we were getting before in the past. too.
Yeah, so. But, yeah, no, I feel comfortable, transformation, we'll be able to take these people, because we've already done this once. When the WRTA was running, services stopped for about 4 months or 6 months. We took some of these people and then they went back. So to answer your question, the ones I'm taking right now are probably 6 new ones, because we've already taken some of these people last time. When we started this.
Okay. Your report, Mike?
That's my report.
Well, thank you. We'll move on to Gary, sanitary.
Hi, Gary Newbrow, Trumbull County Sanitary Engineer. Commissioners down on the big Meadowbrook project, and we'll build that package plan. Property where it is built, it was transferred from the Warren Township trustees to the Board of Commissioners. Property, though, is in 6 different vacant parcels. The contractor that's building the package plan, he needed to have a street address for that property in order to get an electrical hookup from Ohio Edison for his construction trailers. And that's when we realized we didn't have a mailing address yet. And to do that, you have to work through Warren Township zoning. You make the request through them, then they go through the post office. And Township zoning told us that we needed to combine those lots in order to get a street address down there for that property. So that's what this is. There is a form that I need Commissioner Hernandez to sign tomorrow. And then it gets turned over to the auditor's office. And basically it just shows the parcels and that we want to combine it. But we need a signature by Commissioner Hernandez and the auditor. That's what this is. All right, item 23. This is another one of our smaller sewer projects. This is State Line Road. It is ready to go out the bid, and this is the improvement resolution to make that happen. 24 is same type of improvement resolution, but this one is for the Smith Stewart Road sewer improvement project. And Shara, this will be similar to Scoville Drive. There's 2 contracts in there. We're bidding out the LMI, the house connections, and also the general. Just keep that in mind that it's going to be like Scoville. That's still a few weeks down the road.
Thank you. Remind me again, please, Gary.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioners, and I did want to mention, I provided you both with a readout of a current condition employment wise at the sanitary district. I took it upon myself to visit the district yesterday, and I asked for compilation of, the draft of how this was all divvied up in employment. And I know that, we have an advisory council that's looking at this, but I did want to mention in advance that we do have 11 positions that are vacant there. We're going to be losing due to retirement and also possibility of an employment position being moved. We're going to be down close to 13 vacancies in the sanitary district. We've mentioned a lot here about the disparity in the department as far as, where monies are going and what, and I shouldn't call it disparity. However, with those kind of numbers, I think it's quite apparent to see even where we're at. And we're looking at this, this advisory panel, which I caution the commissioners not to take it away from citizens, but our duty as elected officials is to oversee these departments in the way that it's run. We could take recommendations from these individuals, but ultimately, we as commissioners have a duty to fulfill our elected positions. I want to make that clear because we do have soon here a panel that is going to be overseeing this district. And again, I have no issue with taking some of their suggestions or ideas, but ultimately, the commissioners, this is our responsibility. We're elected to do this, and we are elected to oversee these departments. And I feel that, when these committees form and come together with their suggestions, that we take that with, kind of like a grain of salt, so to speak. I don't know, Gary, if you want to elaborate on any of this, because we visited for a while there. Yes, I spent some time there. I overlooked all the, the procedures and what they're doing there. It's a very, very big operation in our sanitary district, and it's definitely necessary for infrastructure moving forward with Kimberly Park and all these different entities coming into our county. We are going to be heavily reliant upon, as Commissioner Malloy had said before, infrastructure. So I'm going to leave it to you, Gary. Do you have anything to add?
Well, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioners, just to let you know, your decision to, create this advisory panel, I work at your direction. If that's the way we want to do it, I'll support that. I'll work with this panel to do whatever asked of me for it. Their findings, I guess we'll just present it to them that, hey, we are down this many people. We are lacking being able to provide this, that, and the other thing. And hopefully we can get their endorsement to help get some of these problems resolved. Right now we have, besides being down, meter reader, billing side is down. You can see here, the next items 25 and 26. We lost another sewer crew assistant at the CDL, and one of our tenured billing personnel there on that. So anyway, just to let you know, we are shorthanded down there, and as far as right now, engineers are my biggest concern. We have 3 in the Vienna office, and for the whole month of April and half of this month, one of them was out on medical leave. So myself and Bill McCoskey have been holding down the fort for the past 6 weeks up there. In the meantime, we're getting petitions in for water and sewer projects, and we're not able to be able to dedicate this to do this, to do this, to do this. There's also a large problem in this county with inflow and infiltration into our sanitary sewer system. Dave Early from Weathersfield, he can attest to that. We're having a problem out there in some of the neighborhoods, and we have residents out there. Every time we get a heavy rain, she has a backflow preventer. It closes her lateral so nothing backs up into it. But during that entire time that sanitary sewer is inundated, they cannot use any of their plumbing facilities. They can't flush toilets, they can't take showers, they can't run sinks. So, and they'll be out, not have sewer service there for, anywhere from an hour to 48 hours, depending on how much rain. That is, and we need to remove this I from our sewer systems. And I have I have conceived of a way to make this happen. It has to be on a grand scale. And I just don't have the personnel to be able to dedicate myself to that, at the same time, keep all the project running. So.
Well, I got a
that's
couple
out there.
comments. I got a couple. First of all,
Yes.
I don't see any dates when these vacancies occurred. That would be my first comment. My second comment is, I don't think we should mix water department with sewer department urgencies, okay? I think what you just discussed was a sewer department urgency. Panels going out there just to look at the water thing. So that's a whole separate issue, I think. And then, like I said, my main concern is I see all these vacancies, but I don't see dates when these vacancies occurred. I would like to see the dates on these.
Bob, do you
I
have
mean,
any?
did it just happen, or what, has it happened a year, or, you know, I mean, I need these dates. It'd be most helpful for me. And you don't have to give it to me today, but I'd certainly like to see them.
Yeah,
And these are things that are just coming up as the panel is being formed, so I just hope this isn't a rush to try to muddy the water.
Oh,
I mean, they're coming, the panel's coming. We formed we named the chairman last week. I think give them time, and these are certainly things that need to be looked at, and these are probably one of the things that they're gonna look at. I would assume.
Do you have anything to add? We had a discussion yesterday about the engineering, and you just can't pull somebody off the street to fulfill these jobs.
so, Bob Mariano, controller, sanitary engineers. So sanitary engineers is really a three-pronged department. We have water service that we provide, we have sewer service that we provide, and then we have engineering services. And, I mean, Gary primarily handles the engineering aspect of it and the people. But what I've seen is, we're running out of engineering capabilities. One person's going to be retiring very shortly, I think the end of August. So we pretty much be down to 2 engineers. And when I'm saying 2 engineers, we're down to Gary and an additional engineer. Gary's sole responsibility is not engineering. So we're pretty much running the sanitary engineers department, and we will be after August with 1 engineer for all of our projects. Now Gary does do a lot of engineering with it, but I think that's been a weakness that needs to be addressed within sanitary, is to add more engineering capabilities. Yes. So that's, they are really one that we need to use and get utilized. And that's kind of where Gary talks about the shortfalls of our engineering.
Commissioner, yesterday I was on the conference call, you were at the meeting, and President Johnson, YSU, he had mentioned about their engineering class and how certain individuals were utilizing their, hiring. You think that is there any capability, or CDL, I don't know, but I mean, engineering wise, I don't know if YSU might have something coming out, engineering capabilities, somebody coming out of there. That was a pretty big topic, Commissioner. You remember?
Internships, they were looking for county government to work with YSU better on internships, especially the graduate students in engineering. And then placement afterward is, what they were hoping for. A lot of that was private sector, but they had asked yesterday, President Johnson had asked to have a better role within honing Trumbull, Columbia, and Ashtabula with utilizing the resources they have at YSU for that. I don't know where that fits in. I mean, we're looking at, some of these guys got 30 years experience plus, looking at the names that are on here, you don't replace that with an intern.
No,
I agree.
I just didn't know.
And what I would say with this is, we have this water advisory panel. I would use it to the advantage of the people on here are all elected officials. They all have issues within their own communities with water, and the sewer is going to come up with this thing. And if you can sell them on this stuff, this is an asset that you have to sell to the public for future decisions we make too. That, when they look at this to see, you need 9 guys on a baseball team to field a team. You can't play with 7, or you're gonna get squashed. And right now we're critical in some areas of I could see once we lose these two of the top 4 people, and you've already lost the number 2 guy. You're a solo Indian out there pretty soon. You and McCoskey be carrying the fort, and one, the water guy's going and the sewer guy's going. You lose them both. Where do you split Bill's time? Where do you split your time? We need to start thinking of that progression, and hopefully this board will be able to help with that too, and budget wise of who moves up the ladder, what positions need filled, which ones are the cream that rise to the top, which are the top priorities for it. And I think that will help too with the backing of them. That'll help push things along.
Okay,
Well,
Commissioner.
I mean, we got Rex Fee at the top, and I don't think Rex has ever worked there in his whole career with the staff this short. And since he's been there, I know we've lost people over the years. And from what I learned when I first came in from Rex, they had a lot more employees at one time than what you're looking at here.
Yes, but normal staffing in the Vienna office is 5 engineers. And right now we're at 3. And like I said, one of them's been out for the past 6 weeks. And he's getting ready to retire here. When did Chuck say he's gonna retire? End of August.
well, when he retires, then we definitely replace him. I mean, that's not gonna cost us any more money.
Yeah, but Scott Varner left and we didn't replace him. He's the number 2 guy.
Yeah, and we didn't have the money. Look at the deficit we were in. I mean, that's why we need to look at this thing as a whole and kind of take our time, I think, with the advisory panel, especially when it comes to the water section of it. But like I said, I would like to see the dates when these people left.
okay. Thank you.
No, I do see on here, it's not on the agenda here. But Lisa provided us a sheet. We've heard back from every township with the exception of Farmington. I went to Lisa's office the other day and called 5 of the people that didn't reply to us, and they immediately responded with who their representative is. So we added them on there. And now the only one we're waiting on is Farmington Township. And hopefully we get that filled today and be able
They
to,
don't buy water from us.
Farmington Township does.
Yeah, we have customers in Farmington.
Farmington Township?
Yes.
Farmington Village buys bulk. They don't, and then they resell to their residents there. So this is just the townships that represent customers that are customers of our water district. So at Farmington, we need to hear from one of the 3 trustees. If anyone's listening, I called and left a message with one of them. I have not got a call back. I don't know if Lisa did or not. That doesn't look like we have, but I'll make those calls again when we finish this meeting up. Because once we have that last person, Rex is ready to go to start working on a date to schedule a meeting.
I talked to trustee Mike Davis about that, and there was some question. Where do they buy the water from?
Commissioner, they are Trumbull County water customers.
On what roads?
534.
So how many houses do they have?
I would say they probably have the least amount of customers of all the townships. But I don't have that offhand. I don't know how many customers we have.
You say 10, 20, 5?
If they have 20, I think that might be in the ballpark.
So you want to just go on without them? Is that what you're
No, I
leaning
mean,
towards?
I can call trustee Davis back and let him know that they may have a few customers from 534. I guess he didn't, maybe they didn't realize that, or I don't know.
Bob, can you find out in the meantime exactly how many?
Yep.
And then just send an email to all 3 of us.
Jerry Newbrow, Commissioner, please don't hold me to that 20. That's not,
That's
you know, if that ends up being 5 or 35. You know.
And if there's a way, I would like to see what we have on all of them. You know, how many in Southington, how many Warren Township, so even when these panel members are meeting, they may not know how many they have.
Okay, all
So I
right.
think that would be something good for them, if they see that they're a township that has the bulk of them, or a majority of them, or a minority of them. That's gonna carry some weight too, as far as the leadership within this group too, and how they're, how much weight to carry with each township. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Alex.
Commissioners 25 and 26 is
No.
HR. Sorry, Alex, Stephen Jensen, Human Resources Department. 25 and 26 is coordination with obviously the sanitary engineers department, and I also too spent some time out there last Thursday. A significant portion of the morning, obviously, these concerns were brought to HR's attention as well. The staffing level, while I was there, we had another resignation come in, exit interviews are being done. It is what it is. With that being said, I'm a little bit perplexed as to what the board wants us to do. So when sanitary, how the hiring process works is, especially with the union positions, these two specifically are both union positions. So these are union positions being vacated. Typically, the union will push back pretty strongly, saying, when are you going to fill this position? We do have the right, management always has the right to say we have a lack of work or we have a lack of funds to not fill said positions. But I am a little bit confused because we work in coordination with the sanitary engineers department. And I don't know if the board is wanting us to fill said positions or not wanting us to fill said positions. So it's kind of putting my department in a rock and a hard place too with all of this. So I just need some directive of what we want to do here. Because again, then I have the union barking down, my back from an HR perspective and grievances that they have pulled, but there were grievances about specific positions and people having to do more work and it's starting to get a little bit, it is starting to get to that fine line of we don't necessarily, I get the advisory panel, I totally get that, but we also have to be able to maintain and work and not have, multiple issues about not filling certain positions. I'm not saying fill all of that. I mean, it is the board's directive. But Bob and I work closely and, when Bob's saying, can we fill a position? And I'm saying, I don't really know. Do you have the money? Do you not have the money? Are you supposed to be? It's kind of in limbo right now.
The directive I'd like to set, and I'd ask the consensus of the other commissioners, when we came into this budget thing, was we're not gonna create any new positions. And then as people retire, as people move on, we should evaluate to see if that position is still needed. In situations like this, where it's a union job, where it's a functioning position, I think that's a judgment call, Alex, that I'd like to see you work with the department head on the need for that position and then bring it to the commissioners, even in a workshop of what they are, and then we could decide whether that's something we want to look to phase out. And as we try to get smaller in government, we don't want to cut anybody's jobs, but if people move out of the position and vacate them, then we could evaluate how much is needed at that time. And so I would have to rely on you and the department head to make that recommendation to us. Now, there are situations with creating positions like 911 corrections officers. We know we're already way short on that. We've kind of given a blanket go on that to hire there because we are so low and there's so much in need. And we're not at the point where we're saying shut it down, by any means at all with those positions. With other ones throughout the county, I would like some recommendation from HR and the department head on the necessity to sell it to us on whether that position is needed or not, and then we could decide.
Again, Commissioner, I'd like to point out that this is within the sewer department, not the water department.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm saying budget wise for any department.
They're both.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the sewer department, this is just filling a vacancy that just occurred. And I don't see a problem with that. I mean, I think that's needed. I think we can move with that. That's not gonna cost us any additional.
No, but what I'm saying is stay in line with the budget, like the second position is an account clerk.
Well, that's different. I'm
For
for
both, and we need to
25.
evaluate, do we need that?
But I'm just talking
I was
25.
talking 25.
Right.
So 25, yes, to be very clear, is a sewer position.
Right.
However, 26, like Bob said, there are 3 comms in this whole department. There's, the water side, the sewer side, and the engineering side. And some of them, quite frankly, cross both. Some employees are paid 66% by sewer, but 36% by water. I'm sorry, don't quote me, my mouth might not be so great right now. But either way, it really takes a deep dive analysis from these parties, the department head, from the controller and from HR to really look at what funding is funding this position. And is this a position that it's not my decision, it's the board's but I just don't want to be put in kind of the middle here and trying to.
I would agree with Commissioner Bernard, first of all, what we don't want to happen in a union position are the grievances. You start pounding.
Yeah.
You start.
I'm used to that, but.
Right, but I mean, you start pushing more work on an employee. Not only does that cause some friction, but the morale goes down. You don't want to lose the morale. You want to keep your morale high. So you don't want to put too much on, an individual that, isn't used to that workload. I mean, if they're gonna have to work harder, then they should be reciprocated for that work. So I would agree with the commissioner that, that's a position that I believe should be fulfilled.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have an issue with it.
I mean, it's there.
I know, Commissioner, what you're talking about.
I'm looking at
But
things from a budget standpoint,
I
not a
understand.
water rate, not a sewer,
Yeah, but
just
right.
This
the
has no
size of the
effect on
government.
This is just to replace a position of an individual.
And that's what I mean. She said it, I would agree to that. But in this one, I would absolutely agree. But I thought she was asking a little bit more for, they're looking for guidance. Should we not? That's the standard I'd like to see. I don't want her just indiscriminately say we're filling this without running it by us if she can avoid it at a workshop even, so that we can say, yep, that's one definitely, we know we need
Well, I
that.
believe
I
she's
just
doing,
need to be
she's
careful.
doing that because of this advisory panel, which she's a little gun shy.
I need to be very clear to the Board of Commissioners on something. Once I post a union position, once this county posts a union position, there's no going back. Once you post it, it is per the contract that it is to be fulfilled. That's what I want to be clear to this board. So that then creates problems if we're not sure that we want, you know what I mean? That's why I'm being gun shy about all this, to be quite honest with you, because guess who deals with all the grievances? Me. And it's a ton of work and it's a lot of, it's just unnecessary work on me and my department if we could just be clear on what we want to do, what's our goal.
And I think we're on the same page with that. It's just that you're doing the right thing by bringing it up and asking, and I'm saying, yeah, I'm
So
agreeing with
25
Commissioner Bernard. This is one definitely we need to fill. And I don't see an objection from either of these guys as far as,
And then the last thing that I just want to say before we move to 26 is also the last thing that I want to see this department get into any issues with is obviously these people are providing services for clean water, safe water, EPA regulations, wastewater regulations. I don't want to see us get to the point either where we're compromising what this department's main goal is to provide clean, safe drinking water
Right.
and sewer treatments. I don't want to see that either. That's all I'm gonna say.
Another thing that I want to caution the commissioners in my meeting yesterday. I had overheard that they are losing or they're taking on some resignations due to the uncertainty of the department and where this advisory panel is going to end up. In other words, they're taking positions, maybe they're a little bit more money, but they're feeling uncomfortable. Now, nothing against the advisory panel feeling uncomfortable, but we are losing some people. So, we have to, hopefully this doesn't continue.
Wait a minute, you're saying that the regular laborers are out there are saying that they're leaving because we named an advisory panel? And then I would put that on management, because someone's spreading something out there that they shouldn't be spreading. And I've heard some inklings of
what I
that
heard.
for a couple of months. And now that you brought it up, I'll address it. So I would hope that management isn't spreading things out there that aren't true.
I can't answer that, Commissioner.
Well, who told you? Was it management that told you that yesterday? Or
Uh,
regular employees off the?
no, it came from more of a,
I would hope that that's not being said, because
Yeah.
we named an advisory panel that's trying to help the residents to keep the rates down, that they fear that there's a problem. That department may go
not to
under.
put you on the spot, have you heard that?
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioner, I have not spread anything like.
No,
that.
I said,
know
not that you spread it. Have you heard that there's been some that are leaving
during
due to the
exit
fact that they're.
interviews, Bob was that mentioned in any of the exit interviews?
Not,
Okay,
not
so-
once.
Okay, so I was
So where
giving,
that rumor came from.
so I was giving
uh,
wrong information.
Yeah, so whoever told you that rumor, Commissioner, this is the first time I'm hearing of it too.
So
I
I
would
was
hope
given,
that's not true.
I was given.
And we're trying to
wrong
help the
information.
residents to keep the water costs down. That's all we're trying to do.
Right, and I'm all for that too.
I would hope so.
So, and as
Yeah.
well as I just, again, I'm hearing these things and, these stick in your mind. This is the reason, another reason why I made a trip out there yesterday to see what the heck is going on out there. But, okay,
So 25 was to accept the resignation of Mr. Carlos Mentel. His position again was sewer line maintenance.
And I would amend that then to advertise for the new position.
Which one we on? Ellen?
25.
25 was sewer, so I think what I heard the commissioner say is we're good to go ahead and. Okay. 26 is to accept the resignation of Mr. Jeremy Fisher. Now he was in the utility account clerk 2 position, which was in the water department with the Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers Department.
Is
This-
that union?
Yes, yeah, both of these two are union positions.
But I'm looking at this here, we have, it looks like we have 3
We do
account
not-
clerks, we have one that says that she's. Right? But this is utility and account clerk floater, that floater couldn't move over to there,
Well,
and then free up another job maybe that's more important.
well, so ultimately, Bob Myron, controller, sanitary engineers, I mean, not to go backwards. Number 25 is a person sewer crew. We utilize 3 trucks in 2-person crews. So our TV truck has 2 employees that go out on it, a back truck, a back flush combo has 2 employees that go out it.
But Bob, can you explain why the safety
So,
have,
well,
can you get to the root cause?
Safety operations,
Right.
I mean, it's moving large hoses, pulling manhole covers, I mean, employees working around manholes. You don't want someone falling down a manhole. So we work in teams of 2. To keep the 3 trucks out working, we have temporarily transferred an employee into Mr. Bell's role to keep the trucks out of the road. They're $500,000-$600,000 trucks that we don't want sitting in our prime sewer cleaning time. So, and then the board had already said to post a job, but if we had not posted it, we basically have 1 person that wouldn't be utilizing a piece of equipment. He'd be out in a pickup truck, checking the man, which is
Yeah,
not.
that's a non-issue because we said go with it. So,
Correct.
so that's a non-issue.
So
What's
for
that?
item number 26, a few months ago, we had lost the utility account clerk 2 title is basically what we refer to as a biller. They bill our water and sewer that send out. Our previous biller, we had 2 billers in that position. She left a few months ago. We did not seek to replace her. We figured we would try to push along as much as we could without filling her position. The extra workload that was put on this gentleman here, Fisher, made him look elsewhere. He has taken a job with a municipality in Pennsylvania, and he'll be leaving us. So it currently leaves us with no billers. We have a floating position that moves through and can do some billing. But we'd essentially be going from 2 full-time billers and 1 part-time biller to 1 part-time biller. And it's not sustainable, and we won't be able to get bills out timely.
It's another position that needs filled.
I thought the building was sent out there. That's what, I mean,
Well, you're,
aren't we contracted, which I haven't addressed this because I was gonna wait for the panel to come.
Yeah.
Because I really don't understand how the building is done. You have building clerks, but then you also have a firm that send out billing.
so how water and sewer, you're referring to basically.
I'm referring to the statement I get at home.
Well, the printing and that's the printing and mail.
Okay.
The actual computation of it is done by. So we get data from Gerard, we get data from Youngstown, we get our own meter reading data, and our billers compile the amounts. So every month they go through 11,000 accounts and create, and then a file is sent to our printer, who then prints and mails. But the actual work compiling the data is what billers do.
So all the printer, all the person that actually sends it out, they just push a button and we pay them just for
Printing and mail.
printing and mail.
Yes, so the actual
And we
compiling.
used to do that in-house, correct?
Correct.
Would you like to go back to that?
I mean, if the costs were comparable, but I actually think our 3rd party is cheap. Versus buying equipment, postage, I mean, we get a great bulk price. Because they're using their bulk stamp, for multiple. So not just our 10,000 bills a month.
How did the other, like the city of Gerard, city of Warren, how did they do them? Did they do them separate, each one, or do they have one?
I don't.
Because I wondered if we all combined our own, we do it cheaper.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioner, I do know that when I started there in '04, we had this antiquated punch card system for mailing out bills. And one of the things I did when I got there is we looked at it and we were able to put in a new billing machine, the one that would take the bills, fold them correctly, stuff the envelopes, and take it from push a button on a computer, send it to the machine, it does a lot of mechanical functions, spits out a envelope with a bill on it at the end of it. This thing would need maintenance on it, I would say, at least once every 2-3 weeks, something was going wrong with that machine. Or oh geez, call this guy, call that guy for this, for that. And it really is a disruption in our abilities there to
Well, I
get
think
out of
that's one
time
of
to
the
bill.
things that I would ask.
When Bob did this though, I mean, that just got rid of all of that concern regarding that. Are we gonna get the bill out in time? Because we got a malfunctioning piece of equipment here. So I think it was a good thing what we did here to do it. Oh, okay, so we started doing that before even Bob got there. And I've heard only good things about it, and it's comparable cost wise from what I can see.
So does this position need filled?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Is it need filled immediately? And we're already paying someone to do that?
Yes, well, we were paying two people and then one person left, now the second person's leaving, so we had nobody.
So again, we're not adding any additional costs, we're just replacing the cost. Yeah, I would.
All right, I see on here too, you have custodian vacant. It's who cleans their buildings?
So we've had people in our office have been cleaning and people down at the plant have just.
Can we use our custodian crew that's on the road crew to do that? It sounds like we're only doing a couple of buildings. We can't add that job to them?
No,
They have in the past?
you have the union job in your department. They have union jobs in their department. You have to look at that. That's all I'm gonna say. That'll be an offline conversation. With the union. I wouldn't do anything without running it by the union. Because again, I'm not in the business to deal with more grievances, because it's a lot of work. And no offense, but nobody at this table deals with them, that's like myself. So,
We have employees doing it there, doing double
like I
duty.
said, let us talk about the union.
Commissioners, while we're on billing, as I was there,
So we should change.
I would agree with that.
Should we change 26 to advertise to?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good with these two. Thank you, Commissioner.
While we're on billing, commissioners, I was also in the billing department. We are owed, Trumbull County District is owed over $200,000 in unclaimed bills that they're billing for. However, and they try to put them on payment plans. As I said, I spent some time there just going through that whole department. And so we do need, and one thing I would agree, we do need to get our billing department down on these individuals that owe us money. I mean, over 200, and I believe it was $230,000, close to $250,000 owed. And, that hasn't been satisfied. So just to bring
You have a
attention.
breakdown of how much is owed and for how long?
They're listed by names, but it's not.
It's 1,000. So it's, over the past, we'll say 5-6 years. And as large as that number is, we are a $25 million a year. Through billings, we do about 25 million. So 200,000, $25 million, we're working on collecting.
Well, sure, but every bit counts.
Yeah, oh no, every dime,
Every
no,
bit counts.
and we're working through a process with our attorney to take people to small claims. Just part of the nature of collection.
So if anybody's watching that owes, pay up and start paying the bills.
And we sent 1,000 letters out to, 1,000 collection letters out, and we've been receiving some payments and
I understand they're on a payment plan. They put them on.
Doesn't it get added on their taxes?
So these are ones that were not certified for some, whether the property change tenants, landlord tenant dispute. There are situations where we can't add it to that.
I don't know. Okay.
And then
Okay, so
just before we move on from 25 to 26, just because the question was asked, we will definitely need, but I also need to caution different funding sources too. You have to really be cognizant of that. So custodians with sanitary engineers are paid out of sanitary engineers dedicated funds. Custodians under the other 2493 contract are paid out of general fund. We have to be very cautious about how we commingle those things. Yes, they're all one union, but when we're talking about, general fund being, obviously, we need to see where we're at in June. We need to look at the budget. We need to look at all of these things before we just kind of say, oh, sure, we'll move one to the other. It doesn't necessarily work like that on multiple levels. So I just want to make sure the board understands.
Yeah, keep us privy to that, Alex, whatever you.
I will add it to the list.
There's a long list.
It's okay. That job security.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so we're all good, commissioners, with 25 and 26? Good. Okay, so we're gonna move on to veterans. Anybody here from the veterans?
Gary.
Oh, Carrie, yes, you're here. Yes, I'm sorry. You want to explain, agenda item 27?
Yes, sir. Dan Perry Delgado, Veteran Service Commission. In 2023, we reached out to the commissioners and we got an opinion from prosecutor's office regarding some repairs, the remodel, if you will, of the Veteran Service Commission. In 2015, when our building was originally being built, we had plans for a separate employee restroom in the back access area where the offices are. Due to funding, those restrooms were cut out of the original building plans. So to date, we have one men's restroom and one female restroom that we use, and public has access to it also. So we have the two buildings in the back, the two offices in the back that are empty, that were in the original layout for restrooms to be placed there. So a lot of the work was already done prior to, they were just never finished out. So we had proposed to forward with the remodel. We went to Phillips Mechanic and they provided pro bono build out for the restrooms and a couple of small other additions, and a doorway to be entered. There's an open hall area and we're having a door placed there. So just some minor things. But in 2023, we got the estimates for those. It was presented to the county commissioners. It was approved to go with Coates Construction. And we went back and forth with maintenance and Phillips Mechanic a few times. In January of this year, I reached back out and sent an email to Daryl, letting him know the situation. He said we should reach back out to the county commissioners. When I reached out to Coates Construction, they had a new estimate. So because the original estimate was from 2 years ago, there was an increase in the cost. Spoke with Commissioner Malloy last week, who had concerns about reaching out to all of the companies that placed a bid to give them the opportunity in case there was a price change that they wanted to submit also. I reached out to Dawn Construction. They gave me an estimate today that is $52,185. The new cost from Coates was $53,823. And when I reached out to DeSalvo, they had not provided any correspondence back to me, but their original from 2023 was $67,207. So we have really the two.
What's that? Who's the first one?
The first one was Dawn. We were originally approved to go with Coates. They were the lowest estimate at 48,000 at that time.
Yeah.
But in January, they re-quoted me 53.
Right.
So I reached out last week to Dawn, and Dawn's quote was 52,180.
Dawn is.
Dawn Incorporated.
Dawn Incorporated.
Yes.
Commissioners?
As a project, have you looked at it, these at all?
No, Commissioner, Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office. We kind of helped advise on the process of this early on, but we don't really review the proposal or the bids themselves. That would be more through building maintenance or the department that's actually getting the work to make sure it conforms to what their specifications are.
So what I get a problem with a little bit maybe is, we brought this up just to make sure it was legal to do the bid that's a couple years old. But by reaching back, this other company knows already from last week's meeting what the price was for coats.
Yeah.
And now they come in there with their modifications, now they're just slightly a little bit less. Should it be rebid totally and open up to the world? Should we just continue on with the first one? Where's our least hazard in this thing? Because I don't think it's fair. I mean, it was made public last week through our meeting what the new price was.
Sure.
So I really can't accept that other bid coming in as legitimate because they know where the bar was set.
Well, this is one of the things that you run into when you're not in a formal competitive bidding situation. So ordinarily, if this were a contract that were over $77,000, these would be sealed bids. No one would know what anyone else's bid would be. You would award it strictly based on the bid that's opened at the time, and everybody has the same thing. This being a contract that's less than that, the commissioners, if you choose, and the commissioners did previously and perhaps now, you can get 3 price quotes, which is our county policy for contracts under that $77,000. This is just one of the inherent, I don't want to say concerns, but one of the inherent things that happens with this process is if you discuss it publicly, if it comes out, for example, if the board were to go now and send it out for new quotes, new bids, well, anybody who's listened in today is going to know what the price quotes are. It's sort of the nature of how that works for these informal price quote situations. That being said, the commissioners, if you wanted to send it out for a bid, you don't have to do informal, even though it's below the threshold. You could do that. You could send it out to a formal bid with Phillips Mechanic's design specs if you wanted to. Otherwise, this is one where you would just choose going forward based on who the commissioners believe is the general bid standard is lowest and best for competitive bids. It's the one that I usually recommend, even in cases of informal quotes, that the commissioners try to stick with something that standard. That way it's a standard that you guys are familiar with from actual bidding. So I think that, how the commissioners want to proceed on this, it's sort of up to you guys how you want to handle it.
It's like water over the dam now. I mean, we already had, everybody knows where we're at. What do you do?
So your board of directors, they haven't seen this last bid, correct?
No, the quote from Don came in this morning because they knew I was coming here.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fair process at all with that. I think we just stick with where with that slight difference. But
Commissioners,
I guess I don't know if it's really our call. If we should defer to the Veteran Services Board to make the decision on their
That's
own.
where I was going.
But I don't like the process of that. I just don't think that's right.
Not to mention, if we rebid and go through Philip, it's going to cost us more money. What to pay for it.
Commissioners, just so you know, May 1st of 2024, we awarded the contract to Coates, so you're aware of it.
So would this just be maybe a change order?
Well, I would Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office. I was just going to say that, the fact that this was already awarded, perhaps if it was, it looks like it may have been the county's delay on getting the project started. So in that case, perhaps it would just be a change order due to the county's delay
I
on
would
that.
agree with that. I don't want to get, if we awarded somebody and then we put it back out after we awarded them, that's grounds for some
And
problems.
I think we learned a big lesson Friday from Senator Moreno, common sense. Common sense on this is
You go with the change order. I mean, I would agree with that. I think that's the best course of action at where we're at right now. I mean, a bid was submitted.
As long as we can back it up legally, that's my only concern is backing it up legally.
Well, we accept,
We already
I
accepted
think
it.
we, it's already accepted, and then when the work's done, if he don't come in with a change order. then we'll
Like I
have
said,
to-
I was just more concerned with the change order before we even started work. And then other companies having a legal saying that, hey, they bid it at this. And then they raised the price, they delayed it and raised the price to cut us out of it. You know, I didn't want that challenge.
Carrie, it's the total with the old, their coats and then if you make a change order.
It's right there in front of you.
53.
It's right there in front of you.
So it's 53. Oh, this is the total with the new.
Isn't
Okay.
it best we just move forward, and then if a change order does happen, then we address that at that
That's an
time?
That's an option.
Yeah. I just. And maybe he'll be, maybe it'll come in where it should have been, and you'll find out it's not as much work.
Bill, your opinion, would you agree with the commissioners on the fact that this had been awarded previously?
Yeah, again, I hate to get into this kind of stuff and discuss legal strategy publicly. I think it's a really bad practice. But I think that, the commissioners certainly have something to at least try to rely on there.
Can we table this and discuss this?
I don't think we have to. I think we move, I
All right,
think,
I
I
mean-
think it's already been done. They've already awarded the contract. We're just waiting on the
Okay.
final bill.
I'm in this situation I am because like you said, it's water over the dam. You can't go back.
And hopefully.
I guess I'm saddened that it took
so.
so long to start this thing, that the prices went up in the meantime. It shouldn't have been that way. I mean, if it would have started construction, then this happened, then there's a change order because of price or whatever. I can see that, a change order in advance. Like I said, I can see both sides of the fence on this one. That, if I was another company and I got beat out, then the price went up after. I'm like, hey, I could have done it for that. I would have done it for that had I known. But I see that, but we're still close. We're within $1,500 or something like that. It isn't like it's a $10,000 difference or a major difference. So then when lowest and best, we already awarded the coats, and then it's a reputable company also. I'd say we can have that. We made a decision once already. It's not enough to think of change.
Right? So,
When it gets over that point, then they should let you know and the board know, and then you can let us know.
Okay, and Carrie Delgado, Veterans Office. I just wanted to also bring to light that we're paying for this work to be done out of our budget. So this isn't coming from the county. You just need the.
that's even better. That made it even easier, yeah. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank
Okay, 28 was the same as 19, Nick. I don't think we have to go down that road again. 29 to notify Ohio Department of Liquor Control, a public hearing is not requested for a permit for Clafters Inc. Smoker Friendly in Liberty. Daryl, I guess I'll turn it over to you.
Daryl Dunnigan, Trumbull County Facilities. We're asking for approval to replace a door at the courthouse. The frame is rusted through. It has like 1/4-inch plate glass side lights. The frame's just kind of flapping. We're looking to use Warren Door, in the amount of $10,325. Again, this is a safety security issue. It's an inmate entrance and exit door. We received 2 quotes from Imperial and GDK.
Well, I mean, it's the courthouse. We have flapping doors. What are they, metal or wood?
It's metal door, and I'm pretty sure it's from salt erosion over the years. We have temporary bracing on it right now to keep
Yeah, I mean,
keep
it's
it
a
going, but-
county courthouse. You can't have flapping doors on it. Did we get, you said, Daryl, we did get, I mean, not that we had to, but did you check with anyone else?
It's right there in front of you, Rick. It's right underneath.
Yeah, I received 2 other quotes.
Oh, these are the ones underneath other proposals? Okay.
Yeah.
74.
GPK came in lower, but we never pay people in advance for material or otherwise.
They want,
We want $4,000 upfront.
oh, deposit, you know.
I don't blame them in certain circumstances, but with the government, that's pretty, we can't do that with taxpayer dollars.
That's a pretty big difference. Is that the same kind of door?
Yeah, the doors are comparable. That was. it was,
7415?
Where are they from?
GDK, I don't know where they're from.
That was one of Harlan's.
I mean, we are a government entity. They know we're gonna pay the bill. I mean, could they be called and asked, you know, it's told, listen, we don't pay deposits?
I can reach out to them again and see if that's.
If it's a similar door and we're $3,000 in difference, I mean, it would make sense to call and say, listen, you want we'll give you the, you know, that's personally me speaking. I don't, commissioners, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
but
I agree. If we can say 3,000, it's the same.
I mean,
Yeah, and that's when we look at those, it's always, you know, you wonder, you had two come in comparable and one
right.
at that level.
Well, the whole hangup is the $4,000 deposit, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and if they're gonna hold to that, then
Sometimes they come through with change orders and it ends up being on the same cost.
a change order,
You have to remember that this is sometimes what happens.
can't get a guarantee. I mean, well, I guess first thing first, ask them about the deposit.
Jim Taylor, you're dining back. Do you got input on this?
So you got Jim Taylor, Painters and Allied Trades. You got two companies that are local. I don't know where this other one is. I actually just questioned that to the glazer. These doors are expensive, et cetera, et cetera. If the commissioners are getting into the process of the shop bidding, we heard about the veterans, you know, that was awarded, and then we're gonna ask another company to look at it, and then we're gonna, I mean, we might as well just shop bid back and forth until we get the lowest price. And, you know, in a process where you go out and you get 3 bids, normally you would go with the lowest bid as long as they're all qualified workers. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. That's what they do. But just saying, I mean, you know, if you call that company, you're gonna call the other company back and say, well, are you using all the right materials? Are you doing this? You're getting into, I mean, probably Bill's question, anything, but I'm just.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to compromise, you know, quality or price, definitely, but, I don't know. I don't know if you would know, Daryl, what I mean.
Like I said, the doors are comparable, but I'm always hesitant when it's that much of a difference. And that's why I wanted to go with warranty, but
Oh, so you're suggesting,
I'm suggesting.
oh,
GDK has a next time.
Yeah, Gerard.
you're out of Gerard?
The other one's out of Niles.
What do you think, Commissioner? I don't know. I mean, it's 3. Bill?
This is a commissioner's
We
question.
can't do that for $1,000. No matter what, we can't. give
Right,
them
and that was the only
$1,000.
reason why I questioned the 4,000. If they needed that, then no, we would, no. You know,
We can't give them.
right, we can't, right.
It's just the
So,
way it goes.
And they wrote that in on their bid.
It's written on the book.
Well, then that would, technically, that could disqualify them.
Jim, you got something?
I just wanted to say again, whenever a company asks for that money, they want you to front their profit, their product costs. I mean, if you give that same opportunity to another contractor, they're liable to cut down that cost as well, right? I mean, but obviously it's not legal to do that.
Well, we have to make a judgment call. I mean, Daryl's suggesting that worn door,
Same.
and we have the boss here who's saying the same.
But same. Work.
Commissioners, you yes, go with worn door.
One, they're both products made in the United States. One blasts on air, they're union, the other doesn't say anything.
Commissioner,
GDK actually says
I
team
think the
service,
bottom line is,
iron workers.
it said this on their quote, and once somebody quotes something, that is what it is. What your prosecutor heard you, assistant prosecutor heard you say, you cannot keep going back and entertaining, because then you're changing the scope of the work potentially, you're giving somebody an advantage, that completely circumvents competitive bidding. Not that this was a competitive bid, but it was not a request for, there's requests, there's RFPs and there's RFQs, I mean, just, it's really, I would be cautious.
In the car business, it's a lot different, I can tell you.
Government
There's
is
the
a
heck-
whole nother, yeah, so government is a whole.
It's all
nother
about
beast.
negotiation. Right?
In
Negotiation.
the private sector, yeah,
I
sure, you
understand.
can go back and forth till you turn
just-
blue, but in the government sector.
Extra
you-
3,000.
But that could significantly change though.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand what you, Jim, and Sharon, everybody's saying. Commissioners, we just have to make a decision.
I see $4,000 deposit, we can't do that.
So you want to go with? you wanna go
I
with-
could argue both sides if you wanted the truth, but I agree. If it's on there about 4,000, or we can't do that,
So,
I think that disqualifies it.
okay, I'll go with that. Commissioner,
Still doing some
so you're
research
still
there.
doing your
Well, if he comes up with a logical, reason
explanation?
tomorrow, then.
Okay. Leave it on the agenda and we'll
Okay.
figure it out.
When I see in the ones, they blast everywhere, made in America, made in USA, made in USA. I'm trying to check with this GDK to see if they say that on here anywhere.
Well, while you're doing that, Commissioner, we'll move on to HR. Alex?
Sure. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Commissioners Alex, Stephen, Johnson, Bush, I remember, Human Resources Department. To approve the resignation of Mr. Bailey Slick from the position of building inspector, trainee in the Trumbull County Building Inspection Department. And I do need to change the date, I apologize, it should be effective 4/21/2025, so I'll send you an email on that, I apologize, I was out of the office and had to have somebody else submit on my behalf. So it is 4/21. This is an unfortunate circumstance, as is any resignation. However, there's some personnel issues, personal issues with this gentleman, so we want to be cognizant of that and respect that. However, this was a position that was really important. When I first came on board in 2023, Mike Swinsky got with me and said, hey, listen, similar to the market that we're having a hard time finding engineers, having a hard time finding people with the credentials and skill set that we need, CDL, so on and so forth. The building inspection department under the Board of Commissioners has to have certifications, and the tests are very hard to take, to be quite honest with you. They have to be certified in multiple things. And what we decided to do as a board for really honestly, one of the first times since I've, been around or that I can even remember, is we worked with the board at that time to create a trainee program. So that would give a union member the opportunity to train while on the job, get their hours in, and then go take the certification to become an inspector. This gentleman, we were so excited. It was a great opportunity. Came up from the building maintenance department, was currently, and I believe he was a custodian, or I believe he was custodian. So he worked his way, into this position and was about 90% there, and then decided, unfortunately, that he did not want to sit for the certification test. So he is vacating the position. We did let this go for a little while because we tried to talk with him. We reached out to him, we sent people to talk with him. We wanted to really make sure, because we hate to see somebody, but that was his decision and we need to respect that. So what you'll see now is we have to start all over again. So this person, it takes a long time for them to get the hours in new training before they can take the test. Like I said, remember, we hired this person, we promoted this person back in 2023. So and we're basically gonna have to start from scratch. It is what it is.
So do you want to come back to custodian or anything?
Nope. We need to respect his decision, that's all I'm gonna say. And yes, we're gonna have to backfill this position. The building inspection department is completely solvent. They require no general fund whatsoever. Their fees pay for all of their employees, their inspection fees, so therefore I see a non-issue backfilling this position.
So we need to look for somebody to fill that.
Yeah, so what I anticipate is obviously it'll be 2493 first, so potentially another union member will gladly. The hard part about this is they stay at a very low pay range of 4, that is quite low. And then until they pass their inspection, then they get bumped up to a pay range, I believe it's, hold on, I gotta look at my notes, I'm sorry. We got quite a few jobs in this, I'm sorry, excuse me, they go from a pay range 5 to a 7. But again, you know that you're gonna be at that 5 for quite a bit of time, while the training, getting your credentials, and then you have to pass the test, and then we will bump you to pay range 7. But it's a great opportunity, it truly is, and we wanna see somebody succeed in that, so.
Thank you, Alex.
Mhm.
We can find out, Commissioner.
Warren Door has Bait USA branded all over it. GDK has Iron Workers Union, Iron Workers Union all over it, so that's all I see. One's made in USA, they branded, the other was union labor branded, both lifetime warranty, but neither of them has both. You'd think if they had it, they would plaster it on there. I mean, I'd like to find something made in USA first, would be my first priority.
Okay.
There's something in here.
That's it for our agenda items. We have,
Commissioners, I'm sorry, it's technically not, I apologize.
oh,
The clerk just handed this to me and asked that I speak to you guys about this. It has to do with, litigation. So just, I guess that I was not included on this, but I'm just making you aware that your attorney is asking you to, discuss when you're gonna authorize, Trumbull County case number 2023 CB 00412.
Next week,
So I need to, thank you.
I'd like.
who's the attorney on that?
Next.
Brody? Oh, that's Brody? Did that just come? Oh. Yeah. What did you say, Commissioner, next week?
He says on there it has to be done by then, we can do it tomorrow or next Wednesday. So rather than rush it on right now, wait till next Wednesday.
So we have to do an executive session.
Pardon me?
Do we have to do an executive session?
And then you'll need to come out and vote on it formally. Yes, you will go into executive session, you will discuss it. That's what we're trying to plan ahead, so we need to know what to put on. You will go into executive session under G, I believe it's 3 or 4, I can't remember. One of the 2, and then you'll come back out and it will be your public knowledge at that point.
I got a little bit more research I'd like to do on that before I.
That's no problem. I don't want you to miss your, I just don't want you to miss your deadline.
Okay, Sharon, you had something before you have to get back?
I have a couple things. First of all, Zach Savet came in and asked about property easements and Plain Ohio Edison, where we get 80% of that fund back. What everyone elected to realize, we have to decide what fund it comes out of. Because when he gets that check, I do a pay-in and put it back in that fund. Typically, we've taken it from sales tax, which is our 921, and I go ahead and I put the funds back. So I'm asking, can I state that we'll use the 921 fund?
Yeah, I mean.
Our cost
we'll
is,
get it back,
yeah, it's gonna be minimal compared to what, but we do have to shell out the first, whatever, 50 or 60, I can't remember what the total was.
Okay, so just to be transparent, this is on the trail. This is.
Yes, the bike trail.
This is the bike trail, and this is the last portion of the bike trail where we will get, the county will get reimbursed 80% of what we're putting out initially.
Right.
So.
And it was
it's
approved on the agenda. He
Right.
did one amendment and now we're gonna have to do another.
Do you suggest, is that the best place to take it?
I would, because we're gonna put it right back in there and it's going to be minimal. So that typically that's what we've done with all the other properties and I don't suggest we change that.
Okay, so basically, we've already approved it. It's just a matter of,
Yes,
do we need to approve where
we'll
it's
have
coming
to
from
amend this.
tomorrow?
Yes. Again.
So we'll have it on the agenda tomorrow? Or can we do it
It's up
now?
to you.
You want to do it now? I
We
mean,
have to do it tomorrow. When would you expect that we will receive the funds back?
I was gonna ask.
They're pretty quick. They're pretty quick with the funds. I was actually surprised at how quick they were.
So if we can, we can put it on for.
I'll fix it.
Tomorrow?
I'll fix it and get it on there.
Okay.
Okay, and the last piece that I wanted to talk to you guys about is we got really good news from Lisa Ramsey at Trumbull Neighborhood Partnership. They did get the $400,000 grant because we committed the $50,000 per year to them. So they were awarded said grant and now I have to give them $50,000. But they got 400, so because of our support, so that's really important.
It is. Yep.
So they got a
Congratulations.
significant amount of money. And I just wanted to let everybody know they got it.
Great. Now all we gotta do is get monies for the other,
We need,
the dog pound.
we need some grants
And
coming
the-
in to us. Us.
We'll get them.
Commissioners.
We'll get 'em.
office.
We're gonna get them.
We will. So I just wanted to let you, thank you though. I'll fix this one and we'll make it tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very
for spending
much.
time with us today.
The other thing on that grant for the dog pound that you submitted,
Mhm.
have the commissioner sent letters to our US Senator and Congressman
We have,
who
yeah,
supported that?
We have not had anything come about from that. I literally tried to do Houston's office and that was closed. That portal was
Yeah, but I
closed.
mean, just as far as sending.
No, we have to send a letter out to each one and indicate how important this project is. And as a matter of fact, I have 130 letters in support of the dog pound. 130.
believe me. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more too.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so you'll draft a letter and we'll sign it. And we can all sign it.
Yeah, I'll kind of steal, erase a little bit, kind of tweak it.
Yeah, we have 130 letters. They need to have them. If us have them, that's
Right.
nothing to get them to make a decision. We need
What
to
about
forward
sending
more.
it also to the state, reference state senators? It wouldn't hurt,
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't,
just to let them know, what we're looking for and what we want to use it.
right, we could
We
do
have a
that.
meeting with them
We could do
next
that.
week too. So,
Thomas Santucci.
Yeah, okay. Yep, we can do that.
okay.
Okay, in the spirit of that, we had a meeting with Senator Moreno on Friday. I think it was a great meeting. I was extremely pleased with what went on. I'm anxious to see what insight he has on whatever's going on with the hospital,
No pun
whether it be
intended.
insight or maybe another dark horse that could be coming up down the stretch, I guess, to win the race. So we'll see from him what happens with that. But that meeting was so good, so well received. We had asked afterward, well, Dave Thomas was here, Nick Santucci, if we can have a summit with him. So Lisa's put on our schedule for June 6th to have a special meeting to discuss common issues between the state representatives and commissioners, to meet with our state delegation. And then, but I would like to do one after that meeting with the mayors of the area, the commissioners, facilitating that with the mayors, with the townships, potentially, where we can have an open house like that and bring the township trustees in to meet with us as far as what their concerns are. And then Lake to River, I brought up yesterday at the Valley Vision meeting about facilitating a commissioners meet up with the 4 counties in the Lake to River zone, Asheville, Columbia, Trumbull, and Mahoning, to get all 12 commissioners together where they would facilitate, where we can have a special meeting and share ideas of what's going on in each county, so we're all on the same page. I love the idea. I think we don't do enough communication. There's been a wall between us and the other counties forever. And as we're moving forward with this whole Lake to River Jobs Ohio thing, and as we see Kimberly Clark is going to stretch out to potentially 9 counties where the workers are going to actually work there. And there'll be people coming in from all over the place with the trades. It's going to be 400 to 600 people working on that thing for the next 6 years. We need better communication. We need to all be on the same page and all rowing in the same direction. I mean, it starts with us here leading. It starts with the other elected officials in the county rowing in our direction also, and not against us, hopefully. And then motivating and inspiring the township trustees, the council members, the mayors, and everybody to make sure we all have common goals. We're not fighting amongst each other. And we see that now with the portal thing, that we were all putting in for our own things, and now we're starting to get competition between this city and us and this township and our request and another county's request and if we establish better communication, then we could probably get farther along for supporting each other rather than competing against each other. So I'd ask them once a month, at least, we do these forums, we take the time, roll up our sleeves and get in there and do it. Like when it comes to the commissioners one, yeah, that might be an all day thing. Maybe it'll take for all of it instead of just an hour or whatever. I think with the state reps, we can do a little quicker, the mayors, we can do a little quicker. But when we get in a trustee thing or we get into a Lake to River, that might be a little more intensive. It's gonna require our time to be there, but I think it's worthwhile in the long run and it's never a bad thing to share communication.
I
agree
The only
with that.
thing with the trustees, I would reach out to them and see if daytime or evening is better for them.
We might have to do an evening thing with them because many of them already have other jobs. But I think an evening event type of a thing, maybe a special, their trustees association can help facilitate with us and make sure that it is a more of a form roundtable thing where they scrap the rest of the business and we just concentrate on how can we help you.
And possibly by that time, we'll have a grant writer, lobbyist on and explain to them how they may be able to use.
And speaking of which, we did talk about that. Next week, I have on next week's agenda for one of the consultants that we're considering to actually come in. Bill, I wanted to bring it up to you. We have one of the consultants that I think we're gonna agree upon hiring, but we need to talk money. We need to talk a contract. Is that something we can do executive session next week to do that, or is that something we have to do publicly? They just don't, they're gonna change their rates for us, so they've agreed to at least compromise with us on what services put in and out, but they don't want to disclose to the whole world that they're doing this for us and not for everybody else. Now, the fee, of course, everyone will know.
Well, Commissioner, with all due respect, I think you just disclosed it to the whole world. But no, what I would say is, no, I'm not aware of any executive session category that would fit into. Public contracts are public record. There is virtually no way to ever kind of shield that kind of thing. The only exception that would be out there for a company would be if there's anything that's trade secret, perhaps that could be redacted from public records requests at times. But that's even, there's a specific definition of trade secret and it's disclosing methods, material, things like that are strategies. I don't see that it would fit here. I would be glad to go double check through the executive session statute again, but I don't believe there would be anything in there that would cover that. I think that would be something that would have to, be either discussed in public or negotiated with, one commissioner, perhaps the county clerk, and then approved at a public meeting. But I think ultimately that contract is going to be public record no matter what, and it's going to disclose, those kind of things.
But that is professional services.
Right.
That we don't have to contract.
Right, I'm just saying, there's a price she threw at us, but then there's what she can do, but she's gonna adjust. And wants to talk to us about what she can move, what she can do this, but they don't wanna make a habit of dealing with everyone they deal with, of excluding what they're willing to bend on, what they're not. In negotiations of it until we have the contract. Understand, that's why I wanted to run it by him first. But anyway, we'll be here next week to discuss that.
And it's just a minor. It's minor, right?
What's that? Yeah,
Yeah, it's minor.
it is. And they're ready to go to work immediately. They said if we hire them, they'll be working for us the next day.
Well, I like to have them on board, especially when you go to Washington. So you can say, this is our contact people. And then they may be down there also.
We're gonna move forward, Commissioner, but really quickly, I have to pay attention to Raymond Smith. I mean, he looks wonderful. It's all cleaned up. I don't know, who's your barber? Raymond, I didn't even.
Rick, there were like 3 times I thought Shaquille O'Neal was saying Samuel L. Jackson decided.
I didn't even recognize. You look good.
Good move, Rick. Good move.
Okay, Jimmy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmy Taylor, Painters and Allied Trades. So I just wanted to address the commissioners. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I had something personal I had to take care of.
for the Trumbull County fairground issue. So let's be crystal clear with this. This isn't sour grapes. I put my time into helping get that grant, 500,000, the fairgrounds. The company ended up spending its time to go out and give a bid submittal so that they could put in that application. So, 2 months before, I talked to Bill Hart out in the hallway, and he said A1 was low price, and they got the job. I said, okay. So I guess I shouldn't take anybody's word for something. I guess I should see the documents. But, that's what was told to me at that point. Okay, I thought that there was a scope of work. I thought that the bids went out, and I thought he was low bid and had the job. Okay. Apparently, I was putting too much credit in the intelligence of, he was here, last week, and was very unhappy that he had to go through the correct process. Okay, or whatever, it was gonna cost more money or whatever, rather than just the way he wanted to do things. I'd reached out to Barry several times, 3 times in them several months that I was trying to find out what was happening. He decided to not call me back. Barry drew the line in the sand. The trades will not go out and do any kind of support for projects or in-kind service. So whenever Barry calls you looking for help, you can tell him to lose my number. That's what I gotta say.
Jimmy, we had a meeting with them, and I don't even know what this is all about, because of course Commissioner Bernard and I think we came in after the fact. And no discredit to anybody that was here before, but my understanding was the commissioner, I believe they're an autonomous board. Is that correct, Bill? They're an autonomous board? It's unfortunate. We really don't have, the commissioners don't have the authority to tell them what they can or can't do. And I believe that what had probably happened with Bill Hart during that transition and that whole time period, there was a lot of, believe me, we got a dog pound. We got a lot of different things that are going on that we don't even kind of like we're dropped in our hands. And I can reason with your feelings. You got the grant, and I just, on behalf of the commissioners, I think we understand your feelings. The problem is that they're going to end up making their decision. We unfortunately can't tell them, listen, you got to do this, you got to do that. But I personally appreciate you and the trades doing what they did to be able to get the grant. And we will, and moving forward here, be more, organized. It has to be more organized.
Well, it's my understanding, that I'm not sure everything was apples to apples. And I think they're gonna ask for additional proposals or new proposals.
I think they're gonna rebid it.
Because there were some things that they stated that they weren't aware of. Okay, and so, my main concern is that everybody's on a same level playing field. And that, they're saying that this guy didn't bid this and that guy did that, and we're just taking everybody's word for it. So, I would like to see it in writing and everybody knows what they're bidding and what work's gonna be performed, and go from there.
Jimmy Taylor with the painters, I understand that, and I hear that a lot. Well, they didn't know this and they didn't know that. They put in an application for grant monies, but then don't know how to follow the rules. So there's plenty of things that are out there. And guess what? They're on their own. We'll see how they play it out. I understand that they're not a part of this board. They're their own entity. I hear that all the time. There are things that tie them to you guys. Okay?
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah, because
contractual stuff. So let's just see where they go, the decisions that they make. And hopefully you'll never see me again because they follow the process properly, which is what I wanted from the beginning. If they don't, you'll see me again. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, where are we at? Who's next? Anybody here to
Yes.
speak their piece? Speak
Emily
their
Moran,
piece?
Trumbull County Planning Commission. So we need you to select projects for the PY 25 Community Development Block Grant Allocation Program. I think Julie gave you a heads up
Yeah.
last week and gave you a preliminary copy of this. These are the final projects, the final asks. The Gerard Multi-Gen Center is no longer requesting allocation funding. So these are the 7 projects. Our allocation is going to be $632,000. We have to use 20% of that for fair housing and administration. So that leaves $505,600 left for projects. We can select 3 projects. One note is if we select the city of Gerard, we can select 4 projects. We are applying for $750,000 competitive CDBG neighborhood revitalization grant on behalf of Gerard. And they want you to allocate part of your allocation funding as leverage for your competitive program. So for that reason, they will not count that as a project if you select that one. So I can't tell you what to pick, but just take that note. I put 8 different scenarios on here. There's obviously way more than that. So you can pick something other than those. There's some projects that we can't go higher or lower on, like the neighborhood plan for Howland. We can't go any higher for them. There's a cap on plans. There's a cap on public services. So Trumbull County Transit can't be higher. So if you see a D or an I in those scenarios, that was just trying to use the full $505,600 increase. But if you have questions, I invited everybody here
We
who
discussed this last
submitted
week
applications.
with Julie,
Yes.
and did we have,
I need your final decisions today because it has to go on the agenda on the 14th next week. Pre-applications open on the 14th. And then we have to advertise for our second public hearing.
Maybe I shouldn't ask this, but I am. Nick, what's your recommendation? Nick Buttons, Trumbull County Planning Commission. I cannot give you any recommendations. I will say 2 things that you should be aware of. The neighborhood revitalization grant that we're applying for on behalf of the city of Gerard is a competitive grant. If there is no allocation dedicated to it, the odds of that grant, which is $750,000, is going to, the odds of that grant being funded is going to decrease significantly to probably 0. So if there is not at least some funds pointed in that direction, that competitive grant is very unlikely to be funded. The other point I would make is that these are all qualified projects. We want to spend all of $505,600, and we can only pick 3 projects. Unless you select the city of Gerard that's tied to the energy, you can pick 3 additional projects on top of that. So it's the Gerard and 3 projects, or 3 projects total, spending the $505,000. As Emily said, these projects do need to be selected today because we need to have it on the agenda to be approved next week. And it's not going to be as simple as making your decision at that point. This has got to be our critical infrastructure grant for the engineer's office, our residential public infrastructure grant for the sanitary engineer's office, the neighborhood revitalization grant for Gerard, the public hearing, and these projects all must be combined onto one agenda item. It's a lot of wording. We're not going to be able to make it up day of. That's going to put your staff in a very precarious position. And it's going to cause a lot of hard times for them. So making that decision today is very important. And as Emily said, there are people here to advocate. I know Helen's here to advocate for their project. Weathersfield is here to advocate for their project. I'm sure Gary Schaefer is going to advocate for the engineers project. South Ponzio and Gina Magazine are here to advocate for the Gerard projects. So everybody is well represented. Yes.
I mean, it's a good project.
They are all qualified projects, they're all good projects.
So and scenario 5 or 6 are the only ones that will help that neighborhood program, right? That you talked about.
The city of Girard is the neighborhood revitalization.
They are,
grant, so that-
in all of the scenarios Emily provided, the city of
They
Girard
are-
is assisted. Yeah, and she did, I know Girard Multi-Generation Center was on the project list you looked at last week. It was an 8th project. They've removed their application. So.
It seems to make sense to me that you want to go for as many multiple projects as you can get.
All right, then, but this comes down to me looking at this. Gerard, we know is in. I'm looking at scenario 5, scenario 6. And it all comes down to what's more important? The demolitions or
Sewer line.
the sewer lines? If it's the sewer lines, then we just go with scenario 5 as it sits. If it's the demolitions, then we go with scenario 6. So I guess what I hate to do this, but I'll turn it to Weathersfield and ask them which one would they.
Which sewer projects in the area?
Crane Drive.
Crane Drive.
These are the two that are scenario 5, scenario 6. And both of those would be a decrease on the board ask.
It would be, you know, there we get Mespos Road, which is my top priority.
The,
We get
the Crane Drive sewer
Howland.
or the demolitions, what is more?
And then if we look at what's more important, the Crane Drive sewer or the demolitions?
Yeah, so the Crane Drive sewer is probably more important. We've been working on that for 5 or 6 years. Residents are living in conditions that are unacceptable. If that CDBG funding will give them enough funding to complete that project, I don't think it's a question.
Well, I need all the dollars I can get in there, and these funds can also be spent on the house connections, which I'm sure we're gonna have plenty of them. And not all the funds are able to be spent on that activity.
Demolitions can always maybe get delegated to the COG. You know? I mean, that's what the COG's about. Throughout the.
Oh, there's new direction with the COG, so I don't know.
You what?
I've seen it the last few
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, I think sewer's probably very important. I mean,
Are there any other additional costs that's gonna be needed for the sewers? Other than the 70,000 that we don't already have?
Commissioners, I have a lot of holes in the water there on that Crane Drive. And we put in the request to the Congressman's office for $1 million there. I have an upcoming OPWC grant application to put in. I'm going to put in an Appalachia pre-application for that. That's due here by the end of the month. And plus we got our 0% OPWC money. Plus we got a CDBG RPIG grant that Emily has submitted.
But that's my question. If we don't get those other funding sources, then what happens to that 70,000?
Emily, does it get, or we're allowed to reallocate that, aren't we? You don't lose it.
If the commissioner's question was if.
Well, let's say Crane Drive falls through.
You have enough funding for Crane Drive with WPCLO funding?
But I'm not gonna go out there and give them $100 a month capital charge. I need to get displace that loan amount with grants. The question is, if we do allocate to Crane Drive,
I think we'd have to do a whole new public hearing. Redo everything.
you wouldn't be able to just put it to one of the other ones if it falls through?
Essentially, yes, but it would be a pretty complicated process.
So then what, that leads to my next question. So if we go with the demolition for the 70,000, so what's laying out there with that? Is there additional cost for that needed? And if so, how much?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
The demolitions cost, yeah, because Commissioner, if you awarded the $70,000 to the demolition, That's a decrease from the ask. The full ask for the demolitions is 151,000. So Weathersfield Township does have a lot more additional in demolition funds that they're requesting. This is just allocating $70,000 to try to, because we can only spend 505.
So they could do,
100,000.
I think you had 7, you could maybe do, some of them are cheaper, it just depends which ones are higher
So
priority.
you could do 7 with the 70,000, you're saying?
No, we would have to.
They would do like 4, I just would depend on which ones you chose.
I think that's the question. Do we roll the dice or do we go with a certainty?
We've been pretty good on getting the grants for these sanitary projects.
I mean, yeah, but we need how much more money? We need $1 million from this source, and how much from that source and this source and that.
But it's infrastructure, and what's the most important thing right
No,
now?
I get it. No, if we have the funding source, it's number one, but if we don't have the funding source, then do we lose that 70,000?
Commissioners, I just from doing grants, I would imagine Gary is going to be in the same boat with the OPWC, and then if I didn't, it's one of the Appalachian Community.
The RP
Well, I know
grant.
what the Appalachian Regional Commission, if you allocate these funds, just like the Gerard's Neighborhood Revitalization Grant, it's going to make their application stronger and more likely to be funded.
Yes.
If they go after these without that dedication, the chance of them being funded does get reduced. So, I mean,
And they
again,
did open the residential public infrastructure application for the Crane Drive project, and usually they don't just open the application if they're not going to fund it.
Yeah.
So Commissioner, all I can say is I'm confident that we will be able to get the other funding involved on this project. I can't guarantee it, but this extra $70,000 from this source. It will
I have another
help-
question.
It will help us.
This King's Drive, if it goes through, isn't that gonna open up for potential large development there also?
Yes.
For
That
housing?
leads to that last little leg that we made a commitment that we would extend that little bit extra to the new development.
So if we get all that, that's gonna open all that up
Yes.
to go.
That's a no-brainer to me. That's 200 houses.
I think that's what I'm saying. So we go with what, 5, right?
Scenario 5.
yeah, scenario 5, final answer, final answer.
Final answer.
I would put that on your.
Can I do an
agenda.
informal roll call? Commissioner Hernandez, scenario 5,
Yeah.
Malloy,
Yes.
Bernard, all right. Good.
All right.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Nick. All right. That's settled. We have, Tom Bellish.
Thank you. Don't see it.
Tom, and everybody. What's up with that? Oh, yes. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks for We have a presentation by Tom Bellish. Thank you. Mr. Bellish.
All right, yeah, what I wanted to cover, at an upcoming meeting was, this PUCO requirement. So this allows, the county 2 more years certification, for the electric. For that, last fall, we did a similar, certification file for the natural gas program, so that's certified for 2 more years. And then, so this one's coming due in the next couple of months. So I'm just asking for this to be signed and then along with this form is the complete filing, which I have here.
Okay.
So it's the plan of operation from the electric program. It has experience, it has with the opt-out letter included that we already sent out. So we have an updated opt-out letter. And
I'm not real familiar with it. Do you mind, like, if the prosecutor's office could look at all this and?
Yeah.
Bill, would you mind looking at all this before it's signed? Mr. Bellish is proposing for us to have the PECO licensing through the county, which I guess we have to have.
Yeah, to do the
And
electric
I-
aggregation.
To do the new electric aggregation that runs for 14 months.
No. This certification runs, I believe it's July 2025, July 2027.
Yeah, but our contract with you is 14 months, ends December, right?
This doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah,
Okay.
commissioners, I think if I understand, because I think we've looked at these in the past, if I understand correctly, this is the general operational paperwork the county has to have in place in order to operate any aggregation program, if I understand correctly.
This is specific for the electric.
For the electric, okay, yeah, and I think we have one for electric and we have one for gas.
One for gas.
And in the past, it's my understanding that through Mr. Bellish, because we've gone through them, they've helped us prepare that general certification for that. So no, I have no problem looking at it if that's what the commissioners would like. I just think my understanding is it's that routine certification that we have to have on file in order to be able to keep having any type of electric aggregation as a county. But certainly I'd be glad to look at it.
This was the item that was on last week that we.
Right.
Yeah, let Bill review it and then we can look at it next Tuesday and give an update.
Ready to go. I also have a quarterly report. So along with this file, there's also quarterly reports that you've done. So I've always done those. So this is the latest one. This is first quarter, 2025. It has the number of accounts here. So as of March, it was 22,288
Households.
households.
Okay.
Yeah, in the program, so we do that as well. for the
In Trumbull
electric
County.
program. In Trumbull County, the participating townships.
22,000 households.
Yeah. Participating currently.
Would you think it'd be more than that?
Yeah, that's what I have.
Is that
Whether,
up or down from last year?
yeah, have to check where that is, but I know we're with Energy Harbor, and now it's Dynegy. Are they reporting the same? Yeah, I gotta go back, because I think I've seen a higher number. So is that a reporting issue or numbers lower?
Well, it's possibly it's the rate, probably like some people probably figured I'm just gonna shop it every 3 months.
Could be.
They probably did,
Um,
because I'm curious to see what the numbers were when we were at 0.0453.
Like Sherry was saying, the minute
Yeah,
opted out.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking,
but the
it's a
numbers,
possibility.
February,
Well, they went up,
March.
so.
numbers this quarter,
Oh,
are
okay,
actually
just
going
this.
up.
Okay, then they hopped on.
So I think it's not that, I think what it is switching from Energy Harbor to Dynegy. Different person prepared this.
Wow, yeah, that's
Are they
probably.
doing it? It's a very complicated area. So it's not just going into one city and counting. We're counting things that are outside of city boundaries. So.
Well, do we have
I
a
can
copy
check.
of that report so we know ask you this time how many people were on there?
Yeah, I can
But
do that.
then that way we can see numbers are.
Yeah, so, something, I can get. So I'll leave this one.
At least you can make copies.
Okay.
Tom, is that the first time, because I've never seen that report.
Yeah, we just, haven't presented it like this, or I would just
Oh.
informally say, okay, we now
Oh.
have this many in the program, that kind of
Okay.
thing. if a commissioner had asked, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it was brought up about counting water customers or something, so I figured I'll bring that up too. If there's no more questions on that, I had one other.
Okay.
I think this was brought up at a previous meeting. So the county buildings for natural gas are currently under separate contract with Constellation Energy. And that's coming up in August. The market is kind of high for the upcoming winter. So it's kind of
Hopefully these rates go down.
kind of a chart where, things are going. So they were lower, they kind of shot up this winter, came back down, kind of shot up again the last week. But they're very high. If you take a weighted average of the upcoming winter months, it's probably $5 or so.
Right.
So county buildings can be put into the aggregation at $3.99, so that's still available. So if the board would like to, I could put county buildings that we have a separate contract into the aggregation, into the Trumbull County.
So separate from the CCAOs, which you're saying, what we already have in electric, right? Does the CCAO have the gas account? No?
We're with him on the gas account, so
Okay.
August.
And then you're saying that the rates are up 4, almost 5, and then.
Plus, there's the
Oh.
retail adder. This is like a wholesale number.
Okay.
Like wholesale numbers, interesting.
But it could be locked in at 399.
Through the Trumbull.
What are we currently paying?
Currently, we're 389 or 399. 389 or
Well, with
399.
the, he's asking for the, county buildings themselves, not the aggregation.
I think that's how you already have it set
309,
up.
is it 309?
Oh, maybe it is. You did put us separately. It is 309.
So currently they're.
It is 309. Yeah, that's right. We are
So
separate.
our rate is actually higher.
And you're saying it could go to 3, would be 3.99.
399 instead of a market price, which is close to 5.
And that would be for 1 year?
It'd be through, March 2026 billing cycle. That's when the aggregation.
So this would be from August
August to March.
to March, that's all.
But that's those are the most important months. Those are the winter months.
7 months.
So you'd be piggybacking commissioners on the gas aggregate that you went into previously. Is what he's saying, you hop on to the gas aggregate of the county, which would protect the facilities, keeping them at that lower rate. Versus, we know that everything's gonna spike here soon.
And Tom, that won't change though. It won't change. Like with Dynergy, we were not able to be on the aggregate program. Am I correct? I mean, we still ended up okay, but I mean, as for, we won't have that issue again where we can't join the aggregate.
I believe Constellation is fine.
They're okay?
The
Okay.
service addresses,
Okay.
maybe not matching perfectly. Dynegy was very particular.
Specific, okay.
And the addresses had to be in the township.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's why we had to switch those. We're looking to switch those out.
This is just county.
Yeah, so I have a list.
How long do you think these rates are sustainable for? I mean, they change every day, week. I see they went up in a week.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see how,
Yeah.
so it's 340.
Oh, down here.
Was that 340?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, there's some volatility there. So this would allow us to lock in, and there's no fee to exit if a better deal did come up.
So
And we would maintain what we're on now until August.
Right.
Okay, okay.
309.
So we'd have to make a decision as to what direction to go, commissioners. I'm not sure moving forward. I'm just gonna put this out there where we're going with CCAO and all that, and we do have the electric aggregation. Tom, as you know, we said we wanted to test the waters here a little bit. And
Do they do gas also?
I don't know, but
Commissioner, what's your thoughts?
I think if we're still good until August, we don't need to make the decision yet. Let's get into the electric and see how that works out and then compare when we have to.
Do you know how soon we'll know what the electric price is gonna be? That should be coming soon, shouldn't it?
For the aggregate or for the,
So,
yes, you have a price, and I just don't know it off the top of my head, but yes.
7.2. 7.2.
now these rates may even start, well, Tom, how it is right now, they could start going tanking downward too. Of course, as you get towards the winter months, they tend to spike up. Okay, we'll
digest.
look at all this, Tom, and
It is 0.0, so not 0.0. The gas is different. It's always like 3.99. It's just measured differently.
One thing I wanted to go over was the joint purchasing program. They were very specific, so that's what CCA used. This Ohio Revised Code 948. Here's 948. So it says that you have to go. You can use that program. I just wanted to forward it aware.
is that ours? Is that ours to keep or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Share this.
Bill? So what you're saying is you can elect to go with CCAO, but they have to be at a lower price because of Ohio Revised Code. You know anything about that, Bill?
It's something we can take a look at. CCAO operates their own program with their own legal counsel. But we can take a look from the county's perspective.
Okay,
certainly.
well, I'll get this to you.
Sure.
Any questions on the?
No, you know what we'll do?
So.
We'll look at we'll discuss the aggregate. I'm sorry?
Are we okay on the PCO?
He's gonna
He's gonna-
look at it next week.
Yeah, he's gonna look at that. I'll have him look at this and then we'll be able to move, forward and knowing what direction we're going here after all that. I'm not at liberty. I don't,
Yeah.
above my pay grade. I'm not an attorney. I don't know. Okay, all right, Tom, thank you.
Really
Appreciate your
Thank-
time.
thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you. Okay, moving forward now. Yes. Daryl? I thought
If you have something scheduled.
oh no, I saw you raise your hand.
Daryl Dunnigan, Facilities. So I just started in March and there were some things going on prior to me and I just need some guidance. So the sheriff's department came to me about a security project they were working on. Bulletproof glass and things like that.
Don't know anything about bulletproof glass.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that's what you were bringing up earlier, Sharon Taylor, Commissioner's Office, about an approved project for the Sheriff's Office. No,
We talked
no,
about
well-
PFOS and.
Oh,
Yeah, this
never
is,
mind.
this is separate than that.
This is
I think-
different.
If I'm assuming the only place there could be bulletproof glass is the lobby,
Yes.
where this is just from me knowing the schematics of the setup over there, is there's usually one or two corrections officers or staff who sit in the very front lobby. They're in kind of like a booking area, not booking, booking separate, but I mean, like a lot, like, you know, entrance, what do you
A
hear for?
receptionist.
Like a receptionist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't wanna call them a receptionist,
No,
if
they're
they're not a
not.
receptionist,
Yeah.
I don't wanna, you know,
Yeah.
discredit anybody's. Cause, you know, anything I say on here gets scrutinized, so I just wanna be very clear,
Correct.
Yeah,
But I-
it included offices, a doorway going back.
there's glass
to-
there now, are they saying it's not public, or I mean, it's
Yeah,
not?
this involved
Well,
the walls, glass, it was a pretty big project.
First I've heard of it, that's not anything we've discussed.
Okay. All right, other than that, the other,
Was, Daryl, can you give more context? Was there a scope of the need? I mean, I just think that,
so I had a meeting with Mark Manning.
like, is something wrong? Is there a
I
concern?
don't, I think it's a security upgrade that they were doing.
Okay,
They actually got some quotes and I just said, hey, I gotta get some guidance on this and find out because it's before me.
and are we sure it's that lobby area, just out of?
It is the lobby
is?
area, yes.
Commissioners, Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office. I think this may have actually come up a few weeks ago at one of the commissioners' meetings, but this was, I think, originally combined with a lobby renovation and an evidence room
Yes.
renovation. And they had discussed it, I believe, because there was a discussion at that time about it was gonna be well in excess of the $77,000 competitive bidding threshold. And I was working with them because they were gonna have to work through you guys and then through, I don't remember whether Mike Slawinski was gonna be involved with like some formats of what the documents would look like. But I was working with them on that correct process because at least at the scope that they had discussed, it was going to need to go through a formal design and competitive bid process. And my recollection is it was fairly costly.
Well, to me, that would be a good project for our new grants.
Absolutely.
And we just
I
wait.
mean, the jail's functioned since it was built there without
We
that
wait till we
stuff.
bring them on board, we say, look, this is one of our top priorities here. Find us some money.
I am really thankful though, commissioners, for what it's worth. I am really thankful that we're starting to communicate these things though before. So what we would typically see in the past, I just have to give Daryl, and I had no idea this was even being brought, I must have missed this, it doesn't matter. It has something to do with me, but I am here for process and you know, what I am seeing is that we're getting a lot better about communicating. So typically in the past, what would have happened was somebody would task our department heads to do something and they would just say, sure, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent, you know, it might have been a very valuable, you know, asset, or they think it's valuable, but at the end of the day, that's money coming out of the general fund, that's Board of Commissioners funding. So what I see here is your department head saying, is this something you want us to look into? If not, you're wasting their time, our time, everybody's time, and time is money as well as funding. So I'm not saying it's not a worthy project by any means, but without a scope, without, you know, there's other projects we could be prioritizing or working on that we actually have the funds for, and we're not wasting everybody's, you know, day-to-day time, so.
Just remind us for bring the grants person on them.
Yeah, I have it.
But we're gonna need a scope of what it is.
Well, we're
Right,
gonna need
and
more
I- and I-
information, that's for
I
sure.
have some more information
Okay.
on it. I just wanted to get a bearing on what it is and where, you know, and what funds. So another question is, cooling at the coroner's garage. So they've asked me to look at a couple things like a temporary tent type structure. I mean, really, we can put split units in there in-house, do it with our own people and not have to contract it out. I just need some guidance on that. Which way do you guys want me to go?
I like that idea. The area they're in is a contained area where they've got kind of a curtain around it.
Yeah.
But if that can do some type of a tent that you can air condition the tent, even with a single floor unit or something, just one of the blowing it, I think that would suffice.
The big thing we're battling in there is that when they put the put the cooler in there, the compressor unit and everything is inside there as well.
Yeah.
So along with the outside heat, now we're battling the heat from the refrigeration unit. So there's just some things to look at.
Yeah, if their work area can be in a confined tent and air condition just that tent area, you could probably do it with one unit and a lot cheaper than many splits in the whole big garage and stuff.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay. Oh, I think, oh,
I got something. Gary Schaefer from the engineer's office had to leave. He asked me to go over it with the commissioners real quick. Bill Danso, prosecutor's office. The engineer's office has been approached for another road closure, very similar to the proposed closure of the Newton Falls Bridge. The proposal is to shut down a county road for movie production. And the engineer's office has been working with this group about the road shutdown. Has got a lot of information of which roads, where it's going to be, traffic pattern, what the company is proposing to do to help out with maintaining traffic flow. Very similar to the Newton Falls Covered Bridge event, we've helped them with sort of a release of liability that we think would satisfy Corsa on this type of thing as well, requiring them to provide insurance, add Trumbull County as an additional insured under the policy, some various things like that. But Gary Schaefer wanted me to bring this just to the board's attention. It's not quite ready yet, but to expect that to be coming here probably in the next week or so if things move along and if the company is able to and willing to provide all of the liability releases and insurances that we're asking for.
can they redirect all the traffic in properly or?
The engineer's office would have to answer that, but my understanding, at least at this point, is they were submitting maps to show exactly how. And this is not as I understand this area, it's not a really high travel area in our county. But there will be local traffic that does need to be maintained from some driveways, and they've submitted a plan as far as I understand on that. I don't have any of the paperwork. Gary would have that.
How long do they want to close the road?
My recollection is it was 2 to 3 days perhaps. And again, my understanding too is that wouldn't be a full closure for the entire time of there. It would be kind of,
right,
yeah, sporadic in and out during the days that they're filming or evenings. I'm not sure exactly what the schedule would be. So I guess that's bringing it just to your attention and to expect that to be coming through. Again, if the company can meet everything they need, expect that to be coming through probably next week, I would guess.
Suppose just be what the drain, the drain on the residents.
So we have to find out first.
Yeah.
Before.
I guess.
How many houses are
Right.
involved?
I mean, it's economic stimulus for some of the movie. You see, they do it in Cleveland all the time, and there's communities inviting stuff like that to happen, so.
But does usually the engineer or who would be responsible to notify the homeowners? Would it be the company?
That's a good question. I will say this is the first one like this that we've had closing down a road for this type of thing. Normally, if it's a road project, it would be the engineer's office closing down and notifying the residents of the detours, the areas. In a case like this, I'm not entirely sure. That's something we can discuss with them.
Now, would they pay for the hours involved as far as closing the road by, the engineer staff and stuff like that?
That's something that we could certainly discuss.
And I wonder if they need some sort of policing or some sort of
They do, and that was already included.
security type detail,
So commissioners, it looks like to answer your questions, the road closure will be June 1st from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. They confirmed the map area, section of South Levitt Road being requested for the closure and its entire section or roadway between Risher Road and Kibler 2 Road confirmed. Local traffic anticipation, how will that be handled? They state that Mike Wilson, Trumbull County Sheriff, will be providing. I'm just repeating what they said. I'm not saying that he signed them up for that. I'm just repeating what Mike Wilson, Trumbull County Sheriff, will be providing officers at the roadblocks where we will be filming. Obviously, there's multiple releases of where Alex, certificate of liability that need to. They're saying once we receive the release form, we will sign the COI, which is the certificate of liability, certificate of insurance, excuse me. What is the address and name to be listed, as well as additionally insured on the certificate. We plan to have officers blocking both ends of the road to any incoming traffic. Ideally, only the residents of the road are permitted to pass in between shooting tapes, and no general through traffic will be permitted. Again, they state Mike Wilson will be providing officers on both ends with vehicles and cones blocking through traffic.
Imagine
So
production
it's just
company's gonna handle all this
officers there,
events,
then they go, yeah.
Yeah,
right? They can't expect
but
us
it
to.
does sound like it's one day for a minimum of time.
Okay, and it does sound to me like this is a company that has some experience with this. This is not a brand new local company. This is somebody that I'm sure has been down this path before.
Next.
Well, 2 days, Commissioner, 2 days
What do you mean?
till the opening Rural King.
Oh, rural king.
We got 2 days till the soft opening, grand opening, the 16th, 10:30. We're invited to be there, cut the ribbon. So May 16th, 10:30.
May 16th. What day is that? What is it?
I think it's next Friday.
Friday.
Okay.
Well, Raymond, do you have anything?
Commissioners, I did put on this workshop draft. I did make note about Trumbull County Fair, and it is 2 months away, and we have a bad habit of waiting until the week before, and scrambling around, trying to figure out what we're gonna do, where we're gonna be, so just be aware, we need to.
Well, I just did have
Today may not be the day, but.
I had a text from Barry Brown, who is, he had a meeting with the sheriff, something about security for the fair. I have to call him. I don't know what it's concerning.
Well, I'd recommend we do what we did last year and went over really well. It was well received by the public. This year we have the old gas station building that the engineer used last year. That's our building. And we're primary occupants of that now. So I'd say we have elected officials and staff, anything special, people for the fair in that booth. And we still maintain, I've been asked by the recorder and the clerk of courts about underneath the grandstand, do they still have the buildings there, which we do. So I'd say we maintain a presence there still. With all the other departments, John Hickey's in his tent, and then us, the engineers, are in the gas station. And then if any elected officials come out, they can utilize the gas station also, or any special guests that we have that are visiting the fair, but we should maintain a presence underneath the grandstand also.
In that same spot,
Yeah,
that's a pretty big spot to.
it is, but we have more
Well-
people that want to be involved. Like the clerk wants to be involved this year. The engineer staff will have their office underneath there too for all their staff. And it sounds like we're gonna have pretty good participation of things. Beth has a tourism booth that she can put in there in that spot. And we just utilize that spot as like the common area for all the county.
Well, maybe
Hotspots.
commissioners, you could think about, for where you're moving to, what do you want me to call it? What is it? Gas
Gas
garage?
station.
Gas
Yes. Okay, the gas station maybe could be truly BOC, and I would encourage you to look at your org table of org and anybody underneath the BOC, and then you could still reserve the.
It's just, it isn't big enough to have everything. I mean, it's
Well, that's what-
decent, but
What I'm
it's,
saying is, and then use what you have in the garage area for tourism, all the other entities that aren't necessarily under the BOC, but are a part of us. I mean, we're all one team together. It's just they're not necessarily, under reporting.
I understand what she's saying. She's saying she needs to know so she can
She can
plan for it.
Yeah,
And we need to go out there and look
Yeah,
at
look
it
at it.
physically. One day, maybe the 1st of June, and then we get a better
but
idea.
I'll say now, utilize whatever budget we gave you last year, utilize the same process and procedures we have, and then present that as we do it. It does take planning, so we gotta send the email to all the department heads to see who's in, who wants space, let them get their staffing figured out. But
That's important.
having
It's
a
not
big
lot of
presence
people.
was very, very good last year for us. It
We
was
need
well
more,
received.
we need more department heads or whatever the case may be, board members, whatever, we need more people there.
that's what I'm saying. If the board members feel like, if they have a spot, like if they have, maybe if they take over, like the planning commission, anybody who has their own board of elections, tourism board. There's all these boards that we have that maybe felt like they didn't have a space per se, but if we could help, make people feel more comfortable, like they have a space, maybe they would,
Well,
help.
that's what I mean. We have that whole grandstand area with all 4 of those rooms that could be utilized, that we can utilize for everybody.
Make it more friendly, like everybody's welcome.
Next. Okay.
I need a motion, I guess.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
yes.
Mr. Fernandez.
Yes.
Everybody.